with this whole, high production value game, it's full cast. It's got, sound design and everything. It's really quite slick. And, they got great voice actors. I'm very proud they got both Laura Bailey and Nathan Fillion in there. So, the idea that's like, oh my God, I'm writing dialogue for somebody who was on Firefly.
But the violence is about a world in which there's a new kind of pandemic in which people break out in random acts of animalistic violence. So it opens with a lady shopping in like a Costco, looking at a mayonnaise jar. She drops the mayonnaise jar, picks up a bottle of Thousand Island dressing, and beats the nearest shopper to death with it. Then drops the bottle and selects her mayonnaise and just keeps going. So that's how this pandemic works, is you randomly just kill someone and then move on with your life. Which of course throws America into chaos, because at first, you're like, well, how do we know who has the violence and who doesn't? People are dying. How do we help them? By the time we get to a 911 call, someone's already dead, and the person who did the violence is confused and has no idea it happened. And then, of course, that gives a very good way for a woman who's caught in a domestic abuse situation to get away from her abusive husband.
What is it that makes dialogue something that seems to come natural to you as opposed to, other forms of writing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I do love dialogue, and I feel like dialogue is my greatest strength. I was able to recently write a short story that was entirely dialogue, which has always been a goal of mine. And it was amazing, because I don't like description. I work very, very hard at description. I add more and more in every single draft. But for me, dialogue is what comes the most natural and the easiest. And I think it's because you'll hear a lot of authors talk about how they see their books playing out like movies, and they're describing what they're seeing. I'm not a visual person. My books are words. That's all they are. Mm-hmm. Like, if you ask me to describe my characters, I can tell you what descriptors I use in the book, but I don't see them in my head. I don't see any of it in my head. It's entirely words.
Outland Entertainment, they have done other comics for us in the past, and we are working with them to publish some of the stuff, some of our fiction, as well as some of the comics, and both a Weird West comic and a comic for Deadlands Dark Age.
Cool. You have a favorite class you play in World of Warcraft?
I always have a favorite class that's different every week, which is why I have 4 level 70 characters waiting for the next expansion.
Nice.
I like the Warlock. I use my Warlock for soloing because they're so overpowered, it's insane. I use my Paladin as my gatherer for herbs and mining, because a Paladin, you can't kill them.
Yeah.
They're boring. It's a protection Paladin. You can't kill them. I'll stay alive. You're not going to kill me. But 3 hours later before I kill you, but I will.
You still going through that process, or is it a lot more just you because they trust you with what you're doing?
I think there's part of it that's trust, but the industry as a whole has shifted away from as little amount of hands on the product as possible for cost. So cutting out directors. So we used to have, grew up in a studio system and started my, in a studio system. So there was a director, there was a casting director, there were producers, then there was a director, there was an engineer that was just running Pro Tools and the program, and then there was the voice talent. So you had all these people, and then there was post-production, and they would run it through someone who's listening just for mistakes.
Okay.
So it was a whole kind of thing, and it was great starting out because the directors were oftentimes narrators themselves, vice versa. So I learned like so much by being able to work with people who already had years of experience.
I played D&D for the first time when I was in 6th grade. A friend from upstairs in our apartment building brought down the red box. His name was Andy Silverman. He was in 7th grade, so he was a year older than I was. And I thought that was absolutely the greatest thing that I had ever experienced. And kind of within the next year or two had decided and started telling people that I was going to design games for a living when I grew up. So it was a very specific experience.
and it's so unique. It's one of this eye-catching style that when people walk by the booth and they just do like a double take and like, what is that?
Right.
And they just immediately have to just like touch the books, and it's not enough just to look at it. They just need to rub
right
their
there.
hand on the cover. Oh, let me feel this art.
We were talking earlier off recording about saying naughty things on the stream, and so like I was like, can we go here?
Cool.
You have a favorite class you play in World of Warcraft?
You know, I always have a favorite class that's different every week, which is why I have 4 level 70 characters waiting for the next expansion.
Nice.
I like the Warlock. I use my Warlock for soloing because they're so overpowered, it's insane. I use my Paladin as my gatherer for herbs and mining because a Paladin, you can't kill them.
Yeah.
They're boring. It's a protection Paladin. You can't kill them. I'll stay alive. You're not going to kill me. 3 hours later before I kill you, but I will.
What's kind of your style when you're putting it together a story? Or are you kind of a mix mash depending on the situation?
Yeah, I mean, I always say my process is chaos.
Okay. That's a good thing. I'm adding that to the list.
Yeah, my process is chaos. It's different for every book. Different books have different needs. Like, for example, with the Anti-Darkened books, because they were historical, I had to do a tremendous amount of research, and I did have to outline those because I was hitting certain historical events, and I needed to make sure that, I had the timeline that I wanted, and that I was hitting the things that I needed to, but that also the story made sense and was a compelling story using those events. So those books took me a lot longer to write. They were maybe a 3 or 4 month draft, and then obviously a lot of time in revision. Then you have things like The Dark Side of Frankenstein, where I had the idea for a while, I had noodled around with things, and then once I actually figured out what the draft was, 7 days.
Yeah, it's something I like doing whenever people, tag me in like the urban fantasy Facebook group with like 30,000 members or something.
Yeah.
Someone will post about me, check out this book, which is awesome. I love seeing that. And then, I'll just randomly type in there, from a completely non-biased point of view, I like it, or someone will say like, oh yeah, I really like that book. And I said, and I hear the author is so extraordinarily humble as well. And not everyone catches that it's me who's the author. But when
it took me a second. I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, I got to make sure. Wait a second.
I love doing that. It's a lot of fun.
Should we have Oberon say hi?
Sure.
To the fans?
Sure.
All right.
So what is Twitch? Because I do it when I'm on the ground and a bug lands on me, I twitch. Is that what it, does everybody just go and you're just like I don't understand what it is. Like, is it that they're hungry and they need sausage so they're just like twitch? Is it like a bunch of people who used to do meth? And no, that's tweakers. I don't know Twitch.
So,
Excellent.
what can you tell us about it?
Okay, so you had Chris on last week.
We did.
He described it. I don't know if I'm going to describe it the same way, but here we go. So, Basil and Mobius is an urban fantasy series that would happen if Indiana Jones and James Bond teamed up to go do a series of missions for a Cthulhu monster disguised as a person. And they fight all manner of eldritch horrors and evil sorcerers from prehistoric times, and one very scary vampire ghoul lady who I created in my story of the Machine, which is in one of the Basil and Mobius books. I think it's...
Because this series kind of sounds like it's
Hells.
an accumulation of the themes of all of the stuff we've covered so far. Was it difficult when you were switching? Because we're talking about different games. When you guys switched from first edition Pathfinder to second edition Pathfinder, was that a difficult shift? Was that hard? How did that happen?
Oh, well, for me, and I suggest I would think most of the members of the design team, the switch was gradual.
Okay.
Unlike everyone else, where it was kind of like a switch. It was like one day you were playing first, the next day you were playing second. For us, it was this slow evolution because, the first thing we did when designing second edition was put together just kind of a proof of concept test. And what that was just kind of playing around with some of the core identity and what we knew we wanted to change about the game. But if we didn't have any strong opinions on it, we just left it the way it was.
You got to do a character from a very prevalent series known as the Dresden Files. You got to do a story from the point of view of Johnny Marcone. How the heck was that? Were you a fan of the Dresden Files before you got to that?
I've always been a fan of the Dresden Files. In fact, I think that was my favorite book series for a lot of years. And so Butcher's always been, I've been a huge fan of Jim Butcher, especially Dresden. I think some of the other ones were pretty good, but they weren't my cup of tea. I really like Dresden. And so getting to do that was just nuts. And the reason why I went after that anthology, I auditioned for that anthology because I was looking for Butcher.
I think for Eberron, one of the things that we were aiming for was the experience would be a little different. The Eberron had a strong sense of we're going to echo pulp novels. And so Eberron was actually, we started I remember pitching, we're going to do pick a character, and these are episodic character stories, and the authors can have a bigger arc, but we're really pushing for, this is the adventure of Abraxas Wren versus this is a trilogy about Abraxas Wren. And so Forgotten Realms for a long time was much more trilogy focused. And that might be trilogy about the same characters, but you really had one strong narrative arc over that. Obviously, if you read Brimstone Angels, I did the Eberron thing, but I think that was because they liked how that was working and they wanted to do that more.
And then Andrew Dare descended from the Dares of the Roanoke colony, which was half werewolves. So here I am. I'm getting to the world building history of the werewolves. And Silver was injected with silver nitrate. So not only can't she shift anymore, her arm, where the arm where it was injected is dead. She can't really use it. She gets a little sort of mobility back, but it's never going to be 100%. Yeah. And also it caused brain damage. So Silver herself sees kind of visions.
Was a huge fan of Star Trek as a kid. I remember the original series. I was so upset when it went off. I was 10 years old, and I loved it. So the first real Star Trek episode I got, and it was the best part I played, was on Deep Space Nine. I played a Bajoran resistance leader, and I had the funny little thing on my nose. Yeah. And I loved it. And then the casting people really liked me, and they would bring me in for stuff, and it was smaller roles, oftentimes just to get my health coverage. But I remember one time when I played a Starfleet officer, it was on the one when the Borg was eating everybody. I forgot what the name of the movie, but
First Contact? No.
Yeah, First Contact. Yeah, it was First
Contact. Okay.
It's time to start the podcast. It's time to play some games. It's time to have some fun here on the Epic Show tonight.
We'll see some off the pod here. Enjoy some great alerts. We'll have a grand old time here watching Epic Realms tonight. We love it when we come here. We clip all of the screens. The chat gets kind of trolly on Epic Realms scenes. But that's an awesome part of the Epic family. So let's enjoy the show now and start another hype train. We'll see the spicy chips fly on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, epicational. This is what we call the Epic Show.
Hello, friends and enemies, heroes and villains. Welcome to Epic Realms Presents Off the Pod. It's not a podcast. It's sort of a podcast, but it's not really a podcast because it's in the video, but not in audio. But it's still kind of a podcast, not a podcast show. Welcome on in, everybody. I am joined by the one and only, the amazing streamer, mental health advocate, and just all around fun person to be with, the one and only Mojo Jojo. Welcome on in. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I love the stuff that you do. I love the intro to your show. Every time you go live, you do the mental health talk, and it's just always been fun. Every time I've seen you in any of the Black Collar Collective charities, even when you went on over to Kick for a brief time there, I was going over there. I'm like, I'm just going to listen in. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to kind of hang out there in the background and get to know who this Mojo Jojo person is that everybody's been talking about for months on end now, and I love the stuff you do. So welcome on in. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, I appreciate the support, and yeah, it's been a journey. We've been here for 3 years now, so a lot's changed since we first started for the better. And I still love and adore streaming very much, and I love following everyone that's out here as well with the Black Collar Collective. Getting to collab and do charity work together is one of my most coveted things that I want to make sure I keep doing as well on this journey. So
yeah,
being able to do that with you and Octavius and Bentley and everyone else that's come into the Black Collar Collective since we started is it's amazing to see how much we've grown. So I appreciate.
And how many funds have been raised as well. That's just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm so very grateful to have met everybody in the group, including yourself. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds for yourself and everybody else. And we'll definitely talk about what you have coming up here later on down the road. But tell me about before we start the timer, before we get into our first topic, tell me a bit about your background in the mental health world, so that our audience knows one of the reasons we're kind of talking about this.
Sure. I used to work in the mental health field as a counselor in a crisis facility for children ages 5 to 18 and 3/4, which sounds ridiculous, but we at that time in that facility were taking in patients that had suicidal ideations, were experiencing psychosis, and also maybe were harmful to people around them. So and I did that for a couple of years while I was working on my undergraduate, my bachelor's degree, working overnights. So that was a very eye-opening experience. But I've also been a support to the elderly community early on in my human services career. And now I support and help families and adults. So that takes a lot of mental health experience as well. I'm not sure if people really realize that when you work in human services, you have people coming to you in times of crisis there as well. So I am back in that career field now at a city and county local government level. So that's what that's kind of what my background is in mental health specifically in a nutshell. Hi, Wino.
Yeah, hello everybody.
Hi,
Welcome on in.
Sassy, Sunstrider.
Yeah, definitely want to welcome everybody in. Sunstrider officially first and unofficially first. BG97 Studios, welcome in. First time chatter coming in to see the Mojo Jojo. Booms is here. Roddy Mom is here. Sunstrider is here. Mojo Jojo, you're also here in two places, in the chat and here in front of me.
Yes.
Rolana Halo dropping the lurk. Sassy. Wino, welcome on in, everybody. Feel free, if you have comments, anything like that, we'll definitely talk about it. You are part of this conversation. And that's what makes this show kind of special, is you're part of this conversation. Anything you do, any alerts you play, all of those will pop up in the chat, and we just enjoy it. It's a amazing little thing, and Mojo Jojo is coming along for the ride and actually probably leading the charge today. So so our first topic today, we're going to be talking about our mental health journeys and talking about mental health in general and how we got through certain things, talking about what it means, whatever the topic may be. It's a mental health breakdown, really, as it were. We're also going to be talking about the effects of trauma, how trauma affects people, families, relationships, personal stuff, mental health, all of that kind of stuff. Definitely a lot of knowledge. I know Mojo Jojo has it, and I as well have plenty of experience in that. A lot of it finding out more recently rather than not. So we'll definitely talk about that. Also, we're going to talk about remembering our ancestry and heritage and kind of talking about our backgrounds and like, where do we come from as people? Where do we come from individually as people? Influential relatives of our past that we've seen, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well today. And of course, coined by Eric Scott to be potluck, which is whatever. It's whatever happens. Whatever happens, happens. We're just going to talk about whatever. It's maybe something we brought up that we're like, we want to touch back on that. Maybe we'll go back to one of these topics and talk about those more. Maybe you guys in chat brought something up and we're going to talk about that. Who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? With that being said, what do you think is one of the most important things in mental health? Because I know you do the mental health at the beginning of your stream and you kind of talk about that. What are some of the big things that you think people need to know about when it comes to mental health?
I think one of the most important things to remember is that there's not really any one person out here that's completely mentally healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and sometimes if we self-proclaim ourselves to be an advocate, it gives off to most people, and it makes sense logically that we like me, myself, and other advocates are experts in mental health for ourselves.
Right.
And we're definitely not.
No. Nobody's perfect.
Nobody is perfect, and a lot of times mental health professionals are in the field because they've experienced a lot of trauma themselves.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like it should help us feel more comfortable seeking that help from anyone that's licensed to do so. And I'm like making a general statement, but not every therapist is going to fit your specific needs either.
Yeah.
So that's something else to keep in mind. There's different therapies for different issues as well. So you have cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a different kind of therapist. You have a psychosis therapy practice where certain therapists specialize in that. You know, for every different diagnosis, there's a different way to go about the treatment plan for it. And each person is individual in that way, you know? So like I think the main thing for me too, with that being said, is that there's not always a prescribed medication regimen that's
Yeah.
going to help us either.
Right.
Sometimes you do need the talk therapy. I always recommend like talk to someone first and then see if you are going to need like the prescriptions intervention for,
Yeah.
you know, because there's many ways to mitigate certain diagnoses without having to go there. So I would say those are the key things that I always kind of harp on, is that you're not alone if you don't feel like you're mentally healthy.
Right.
There's definitely a struggle for each person that's different, and each one of us has our own stories as to why we have certain conditions or
I know we had
possible
mentioned, I
diagnoses.
don't somebody else's stream. I don't know if it was Bentley or Octavius or one of the other community members was streaming, and you and I were both in the chat. And I had mentioned that like even therapists go to other therapists. Like, yes, it's like an author. An author shouldn't edit their own books.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. So therapists who are professionals who do it for years, they go to other therapists for
Absolutely.
issues. So yeah, I think everybody needs a therapist, and even some people who are like, oh, I don't have anything. You have something. You have lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody has stuff.
Hi, Steven. Hey, Redneck Jedi.
Hello, guys. Welcome on in.
Absolutely. And like along those same lines, even if you think you're mentally healthy, it's okay to go to a therapist.
Yeah.
As regular maintenance. And I think that's becoming more accepted in our society, which is great.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's great.
Yeah, because before it definitely wasn't. Like you only went to a therapist if something was the matter or you were in crisis. And now that it's not perfect. We have a long ways to go still, but now that talking about mental health is a little more accepted, doing it as a regular upkeep and maintenance is definitely becoming more of a thing, so, and that's therapists aren't just there if you're having an issue either. Sometimes it's good to talk to someone as an outside party about just everyday stuff. It might not be broken, but then when you get to a point to where you might need that help, you're already there, so that's also
I've
a
also
great
learned that
thing
there
to
are
see.
tools. You might not need something, but you can go to therapy, and after a couple of sessions, you have this tool that you like. You have this knowledge, and then something happens.
Yeah.
And something happens, and you're like, "Oh, I know about this thing called triggers, and I just got triggered by something, and I know how that affects me, and I know what my reaction would be. I didn't realize you can't observe that if you don't know." So learning little lessons and little things during your therapy, even if you're just fine, like I said, nobody's just fine. Everybody has that word, trigger. Everybody has that, and how you react to it is definitely something you learn in a therapy type situation.
Absolutely.
So yeah, what are some of the things that you think are very helpful to teach people or for people to learn about self growth in their mental health?
For me, it's definitely, I've shared some of these things during Mental Health Minute, but I have these 4 pillars of self that I say really hold up our mental health. And uh one of them that I feel like is important to all the rest, and like the foundation, if you will, is self-awareness.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the pillars are self-care, self-love, and self-preservation. But how do you know if you need any of those other things or to improve on any of those other things if you're not tapping into your own self-awareness?
Yeah.
And by that, I mean like being able to sit with yourself and reflect on what issues you may be having or what blockages you're having, and being able to look at yourself in an outward way and really make observations of yourself that help you towards improvement.
Yeah.
So if you're not self-aware, how do you know that you're lacking in taking care of yourself, right?
Right.
Self-care to me is like the bare minimum of what we do to survive and like maintain yourself physically.
Mhm.
So eating, drinking, getting good rest, exercising, or whatever that looks like for you. And then self-love is that inner conversation that you have with yourself. Are you talking yourself up when you're ready to go to an interview, on a date, or are you putting yourself down? Are you doubting yourself? That's what I look at as self-love, and the lack thereof. Sometimes some of us have a lack of that inner conversation that kind of boosts our own confidence up. And then self-preservation is the measures that we take to protect ourselves, right? So sometimes that's taking a break from social media.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's cutting off toxic relationships. But if you're not self-aware of what's happening around you and with yourself, then you never really have that guidance or beacon to show you like where you should focus on if you're having struggles in certain areas. So I definitely have harped on the pillars. It's a command on my channel. You can do exclamation point pillars and it'll bring those 4 up. And I used to talk about those really often in the beginning when I first started streaming 3 years ago, and like focused in on those.
Right.
Because I feel like I'm going to write a book about that sometime in the future.
Yeah.
But
it reminds me a little bit of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs sort of
yes,
thing.
yes. And I spoke about that during our last raid train for Glisten. Yeah. Because if and Glisten is a great LGBTQI plus pro organization that was started for teachers, and the Black Collar Collective, Epic, was a part of it. Octavius and Bentley were part of that whole raid train as well, and it was our first time benefiting them. But they are an organization that was started by teachers and has been around for like 30 years. trying to help students have a safer environment in the school systems so that they could get the education that they deserve, right?
Yeah.
And in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's a pyramid. And on the bottom of the pyramid, it's your most basic physiological needs, you know, and safety and security, shelter, like food, you know, those things.
Sleep, clothing.
And if you don't have those, you don't make your way up the pyramid, which at the top is self-actualization. And self-actualization is you basically blossoming into who you're meant to be because you made it. You made it happen.
Yeah.
Kids can't get there if they don't have safety and security in their schools. Like that was basically my point, you know?
Yeah.
They're getting bullied. They're getting discriminated against, sometimes by the teachers.
Right.
So GLSEN helps develop the school environment, starting with the teachers, to give them the empowerment of how to handle those difficult situations when you have a gay student getting bullied, or like, let's say, or even educating them about the LGBTQIA plus gender scale.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of them don't know, unless they're part of that community,
right,
how many genders there even are. Which there's
a lot,
100 something.
Yeah,
there's a lot. So that was definitely a great way to advocate for our LGBTQIA plus students in K through 12 grades and beyond. It still happens on college campuses too, unfortunately, in certain areas, depending on where you're at on the globe and geographically.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
One of the things for me, seeing a therapist, going to therapy, that I've had struggles with throughout years, and I didn't realize I had a problem. Just like we said, you don't know until you go. And it was after a while that I was like, I brought it up. I was like, you know, I think I have a problem with anger and frustration. And I got given this wheel, this little circle wheel, and it showed all these emotions, basically all the negative emotions. And they're like, here's the thing. She goes, anger isn't a core emotion. Anger is an emotion triggered by all these other emotions. So if you have a problem with anger, it's not the anger that you're having an issue with. It's something else that's triggering, there's that word again, triggering anger. And I was like, fascinating. And then the more I thought about it, the more I looked at it, it's like, okay, so if you're embarrassed, if somebody gets embarrassed, oftentimes eventually their reaction becomes anger. If they're sad about something, it can be anger. Almost any negative emotion gets turned into anger. Anger isn't the starting emotion. And I was like, that is so fascinating. And so as I got to work on that, I started to realize, wow, this was a major breakthrough for me personally. And then I realized that it had spanned out to other things I had developed over the years, all these other coping mechanisms, all of these other like survival tactics. I've mentioned on the stream multiple times that I think I was in 18 different schools throughout my life. So I was always the new kid trying to survive and, you know, trying to get through. And so I realized like sarcasm is a reaction, is a negative reaction to anger and survival and stuff like that. And, you know, throwing other people underneath the bus, like, oh yeah, it's funny, haha. And then eventually I was like, it's not funny. That's not funny. No. It's funny to other people in when you're a kid trying to survive. But when you look at it, it's like you're hurting someone. Like even if they laugh, it's not true. So now anytime that there's any of those kind of jokes, especially in our community, like I talk to people long in advance. I'm like, you let me know if I ever say anything that's whatever, that's not good. Because yeah, some of us, we joke and, you know, we tease each other in the stream, but I want to make sure that it remains good-hearted and not just throw somebody under the bus just to take a stab at them for whatever reason to make yourself look better. And that's all a trigger that goes back to that whole anger thing. And now it's like, I have this great tool to change who I am and become a better person with this tool. And so that, for me, that was the biggest breakthrough in my whole therapy thing, is like, this little circle, this one little graphic of all these emotions that lead to anger, and going, oh, well, I can take care of that because now I know I'm not tackling like, why am I angry at this person for whatever?
Yeah, there's a root to
Right.
that problem. Yeah.
Right. And by the way, Steven says, the world is literally on fire. No one is fine, talking about everybody needing therapy.
Yeah. Yes, that's absolutely true. And I learned a lot about my own mental health struggles when I started working in the field.
Okay.
And started to really take a look at my own, like through my own therapeutic groups that I developed. I was like, wait a minute, okay, this is hitting a note for me personally. And so without getting into the specificities, because it can be really triggering.
Okay.
But I realized that the most majorly, most current, most like recent thing, and it's been several years now, but at the time it was the theater shootings in Aurora, Colorado here. I was in that theater, and I didn't realize the impact it had on me until I started working in the crisis facility, and we were doing an exercise where with the kids we were writing down like some possibly like pinnacle events that's happened in our lives.
Yeah.
And then we were like reflecting on it in a group setting, like how this could have affected us.
I love group therapies, by the way.
Yeah, group therapies are definitely great. Because you get to hear other people, and then it starts to like set off your own synapses,
Yeah.
and
you
you're
get
just
to
like,
you get to learn things that you're like, oh yeah, that for me, yeah, I see that,
yes, definitely. And like what I had realized is when that happened, it kind of set off like a survivor's guilt that I survived that event. And so instead of it being like crippling to me, seemingly to that, like the naked eye, like did the other side of the spectrum where I was like jumping into everything I could jump into. Like,
Yeah.
2 jobs, going to school, working at the crisis facility. I was like, man, when I was reflecting on it, I'm like, I feel like I need to do 5 times more than I would be doing because I survived and other people didn't. Survivor's guilt is a definite, it's a definite thing. Like it's something that it can be diagnosed, and it's helped through like talk therapy. So seeing a psychologist rather than a psychiatrist. Psychiatrists are going to prescribe you a medication regimen for your psychological issues, but psychologists are talk therapists. So realizing that, it was super eye-opening. And I actually did a TED talk about that experience, and also talked about like how to support someone who's gone through trauma. So that's a little bit of my journey in the most recent like developments while I was trying to figure out like why am I such a workaholic? Like why do I want to do so many things and be successful at so many things? Well, I survived a traumatic event and I was guilty about it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a for sure thing that was eye-opening as well. And it was a great thing that I wanted to do more, but I also was running myself ragged. And then I also was still dealing with like a substance dependency issue. But getting to that root of it really helped me work on it, moving forward. So
help you untie the knots to all the strings.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great way to describe it because it was all knotted up.
Yeah, I totally get that. If Curly Girl mentioned if you need help with anything or somebody's loved one needs help, the NAMI organization is a great organization. I also posted the link there for anybody. The NAMI walk was this last weekend, so if you heard about that or you didn't hear about that, definitely go check that out. A great charity to work with as well. And you said you worked with NAMI at all? You did a charity for?
So yeah, one of my mods and one of my really good friends, Me Shark, had a charity campaign for NAMI. So we raised funds towards their charitable organization. They're a nonprofit organization. Because he tapped into their resources when he was having a struggle. So he was connected to them directly in that way. And it was great. It was great being able to help with whatever we could towards their cause, which is helping people with their mental health. National Alliance on Mental Health Illnesses is what NAMI stands for. And they're just a great organization. They have many supports available. If you don't want to talk to someone, they have if you don't want to talk to a person, they have ways that you could talk to somebody like through text or messaging or something like that.
Yeah, and they have files and stuff you can download and just read if you just want to read about stuff and try and better yourself and whatever. So definitely go and check out nami.org to follow that Sunstrider. Dang you, Sunstrider. Sunstrider goes, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. I'm pretty sure that's a Star Wars thing, and that's the end of my joking on this very serious and important subject. Thank you, Sunstrider. You know, we got to have a little brevity in there, right? A little bit of like release of the
yes,
of the thing.
Exactly.
And that's our timer. Our timer is up. That just means our timer for that topic, although the topic does continue in as we go here. Yeah, definitely a serious topic. Mental health isn't it's not an easy thing to just joke about, right? It's almost always a serious thing. So how do you release this tension of super serious talk about stuff like that? And you try and make a joke, but there's nothing really to joke about to kind of lighten the mood when you get on serious topics like that. So it is kind of hard, Sunstrider. So thank you for doing your best to help with that, even though it might have been unintentionally. Are you a Star Wars fan, Mojo? Do you like the Star Wars?
You know what? I like Star Wars, but I'm not a fanatic.
Yeah, you're not dressing up as
definitely...
Darth Maul with the horns.
No, but I do have.
It's Grogu.
It's Grogu. He usually has a. I lost the little magnet piece.
Did you just check out his butt? You just checked out his butt. Jeez.
I did. I touched his little tushy. No, he has a magnet in his butt, so he's supposed to be able to sit on your shoulder by you magnetizing him to your garment.
Okay.
But I lost the bottom piece to it, so he just sits there anyway.
Can't you just grab any kind of piece of magnet, just stick it under there?
Yeah, I bet I could.
Or a piece of metal of some sort.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Is he gonna? Oh, he does. He sticks to my computer tower.
There you go. There you go. I fixed it. I have solved all your Grogu problems.
Yes.
So we're talking about mental health. We talked a little bit earlier about trauma and things like that. And there are lots of different effects of trauma. And it's hard to say sometimes exactly all of the things because everybody affects it. And I very recently had a discovery. So me sharing personal stories again, which I think is also kind of good, but I was having a discussion with my wife about being tested as a kid. I was always being tested for ADHD. Being tested, passed, I don't have it. Being tested again, passed, don't have it. But I had all of these symptoms that she kept seeing, and all of the people kept, all the teachers are like, he's totally got it. But I'd go in, I'd take the test, I'd meetings, interview, all of the things, and every time they're like, no, he doesn't have ADHD. And we're looking back, and I was explaining to my wife, who's, I've been with, she knows me very well now at this point after 10 plus years. And she's like, well, you do realize, and she also works in mental health. She goes, you do realize all of these symptoms that you were talking about, those specific symptoms are also symptoms that are shown as reactions to PTSD.
Yes.
And I was like, I looked at her, I was like, wait, what? She's like, those specific symptoms that reflect ADHD, you're not showing any of the other ADHD symptoms. Those very specific symptoms are also PTSD symptoms and ways that you react to them and ways that you show them. And I was like, but what would I be having PTSD for? Because I didn't know that. Like, to me, the nomenclature is PTSD is you go to war, you come back, that's a thing. But it's like it can be anything that gives you PTSD.
Yes.
But the more I thought about it, she's like, well, you were in like 18 different schools. You were constantly moving. You were constantly uprooted. You didn't get to keep any of your friends. You had to keep abandoning them, sometimes last minute. Sometimes you didn't even know you were moving until you were at the location and you're like, this is where you're staying for the rest of your life. Haha, maybe not. But you're looking back and going, wow, there's all of these things. Okay, I've got a lot of stuff to work through now. I've got a lot of things. So I actually called I messaged my therapist. I'm like, can we set up a regular schedule again? We need to chat like weekly again.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of stuff to unpack that's just come to my attention. And so, yeah, trauma can be anything. It doesn't have to be something super crazy. It can be something that you don't even realize. You could have a series of friends that just, don't show up at things that they've planned or that you've planned with them multiple times. And that could, to you, it can be very personalized.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You make a good point there. And I want to kind of just piggyback off of it.
Yeah.
That I think there's a misconception with trauma, and that if you've experienced it, you're like broken or something, which in a sense you are, but some people are kind of in denial that they've experienced any trauma. For you, it was because you honestly didn't know and you didn't understand. But for some people, they're really like, no, I have no trauma. I've never experienced trauma.
Right.
If you've lost a pet, if someone said something to you and hurt your feelings,
yeah,
if you got cut in the grocery line, someone just went in front of you and you were upset about it, anything that happens, it could be very minute or it could be a serious thing, can cause PTSD. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah. And so it's any kind of stress that you encounter from from interactions with anyone around you, or or something happening to you that was out of your control, because that causes you stress thereafter. It causes you to change your behavior too, right?
Yeah.
So if someone's cutting in front of you in line, or if someone cuts you off on the road rage is huge.
Yeah.
Still, unfortunately. And then you become maybe more of an aggressive driver after that. Or
Yeah.
when you're in the grocery store, you're kind of like, you got your bows ready to throw.
Right.
And that
start
is
tailgating people and stuff.
yeah, you're like, no one's gonna cut in front of me. Like, it causes you post-traumatic stress. And it's a disorder when it starts affecting your life thereafter. Like, so that's why I say, if your behaviors change after something's happened to you, it's probably PTSD. Is it like a huge thing? Because there's this, some people say there's a spectrum of traumas.
Yeah.
Something that's very serious versus something that's maybe minute. I don't like looking at it like that, because each person experiences trauma in different ways. So I don't like calling someone's trauma less than somebody else's trauma. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's a great point to bring up, because I don't think, and again, there's that self-awareness piece, right? Where it's like your wife made that comment and you're like, oh,
yeah,
now I need to look at myself. Like,
right. Right.
Yeah.
But it was that in and of itself opened up a whole new world of possibilities to things that I did. And I, taking tools that you get here and to learn, and tools you get here to learn, and tools you get there to learn. And then you're like, wait, if I use all of these tools together, I unlock this next level in this video game that is my psyche. And I learn something like, oh, hey, there's this extra thing. Like, now I can analyze this, and I can improve myself as to become a better human, or to put that to rest, or to, make that so that's not a thing, or to recognize this one thing that always triggers me. There's that word again. I'm going to keep saying it.
Yeah. But I mean, trigger is a word that I think can be misused, because a lot of our fellow peers out here, I think they use it sort of too casually. And I hang out with a lot of people that might have worked in the mental health field either with me or in their
Okay.
past somewhere. So like trigger is definitely a regular vocabulary for us, but if you haven't worked in the field very much and you're starting to use trigger as like you're overusing it, you know, oh, don't move like that, it's triggering me, or like, you know, or something like that, and like you're kind of joking about it. It's definitely something that like is a real vocabulary word for something serious. Like somebody says something and then it triggers you to have like a flashback or something, you know, that does happen.
Yeah.
Smell memories, audio memories, you seeing something that could trigger something like a memory from a traumatic past.
Yeah.
The triggers are a real thing. Like and they can be really simple too. Like, you know, the smell of a food or something can
Well,
remind
and anybody
you
who
of
has
somebody.
any kind of habitual process, right? Say somebody's got a problem with smoking or drinking or any of that kind of stuff. And something I always say, because I do drink on stream, and I tell people, if somebody new comes in and I go to have a drink, I go, by the way, I do tend to drink on here, but if you have an issue with drinking, if you don't drink, if you choose not to drink, if you have a reason not to, and that's something that triggers you, let me know and I will stop immediately on stream and I won't have another drink for the remainder of the stream, if that's a problem, because it is, and
That's a real thing.
it can be as much as just me saying something about having a drink, and you know, or I could just have something and not show what it is, or say, you know, we talk about a shot glass and somebody can be like, you know, that alone can be something. But you can also say something completely not related to it that triggers them because of their personal experiences that you wouldn't even know. You might not even know that they have. Say you bring Grogu on, right? And you're like, I've got Grogu, and somebody goes, yeah, I used to always drink during that show, and so every time I see Grogu, it's now a trigger, you know, for them to be like, oh, I really could use a drink, sort of thing. So anything could be one of those triggers. So
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Which I do have, like, so if you get a spicy chip, that happens. I've got Oreo Coca-Cola. Speaking of drinking things.
Oreo Coca, what is this?
Oreo Coca-Cola and the Coca-Cola flavored Oreos, they have popping candies in them.
What?
So, yeah, so I will drink this and eat it with a popping candy Oreo if you get a spicy chip.
Okay.
And I think that's for subs, right? Or
that's for hype trains. Yeah, if we get hype trains cause.
Oh, there you go. That's biddies and subs.
Yeah, every completed level of hype train causes me to eat a spicy haunted ghost pepper chip. I know last.
God, I watched you do that like 5 times on one of your streams, and I was like, "You are crazy. Your stomach's gonna fall out of your butt."
They are not super pleasant.
Turn it up, yeah.
And now Steven's gonna try. Steven is gonna try.
Yeah, turn.
You can't do it by yourself, Steven. It's
turn. Right? You gotta have 2 other people come join you. But we shall see. We shall see if that happens. It's the last day of September too.
It is.
For those of you that are fellow content creators out here. So if you're having a stream today, all the luck to you. Rake it on in.
That's right. And I think Twitch is giving away, for every like 5 subs, Twitch gives away a sub as well. So
they give away a random number of subs in addition. Turn it up.
Turn it up.
Oh shoot. They did it. Oh.
They started it. Have we completed level 1? Let me reach over and grab. Let me pause the timer.
Pause the timer.
I'm gonna reach over here. Oh, okay, I'm gonna reach on over here.
Open the. Turn it up. Yeah. Why no? Thank you for the gifted sub. Oh my god.
Grassy Squats, thank you. Stephen the Shark getting on in here. Appreciate you guys. No, not that turn it up song.
Turn it up. I like how you say yeah.
I don't like that is the
It looks like you doing it though.
That is the video of me singing that song that I hate. Out of all the songs, that is the worst one. So we're at 62%. So we're like 40 some away before we hit that. So there's Mojo pointing out she'll as soon as we hit that, complete that level 1, I will be doing one of these. Haunted Ghost Tower. Here's the spice level for those that don't know. So if we complete it, I will be ingesting burning hot rage for every completed level. And maybe we won't. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe it won't. Maybe they're just teasing us.
I don't know. I believe in them.
There are a couple people that'll come in and they'll be like, "You're screwed," and they'll just like lay it in. Just lay it in.
Yeah, I bet. Here,
Steven the Shark was on the receiving end of that at one point. Oh, you're encouraging it.
Oh, well, I have some biddies saved up.
Yeah,
turn it up. That's the song he hates the most, and yet he's always singing renditions.
I know. The other day I was doing it.
Yeah, turn it up, yeah.
It's one of those where like, yes, it's kind of catchy, but I hate it. But like everybody, when this first came out, everybody was doing it, and I was like, I couldn't go into anybody's stream because I was like, no. And now I'll just be playing a game, and I'll be like, I gotta open this door, open it up, yeah, and I'll just like whatever it is, and I'm just constantly changing it, and I don't realize it when I'm singing songs on stream. I don't realize I'm doing it half the time until somebody posts a clip, and I'm like, what is this clip? And I'm like, no. Steven the Shock.
He's in there.
Steven's trying to single-handedly get the hype train to happen.
Oh, sassy! Oh my!
Descent of Decay. Descent of Decay is an awesome streamer as well. All right, there it is.
Yay.
We have completed level 1. Right out of the gate here. Oh,
Okay,
mine
here we
smells like
go.
spice. It's my mouth is watering in preparation.
This smells like Coca-Cola over here. So
Does
I'm
it?
getting a treat, and you're getting the hot ass.
Yeah. I'll deal with this tomorrow.
Oh, it's coffee. I just spilled it down my.
Woo!
You put the whole thing in your mouth, sir.
Yeah, you got to get it over with quick. If you do it in parts, it's like you're eating multiples. Hot booty is what a pirate loves hunting for. I mean, it's true. It's not a lie. No lies. Thank you, Sassy, for that gifted sub as well. I just wanted to... There's a Google Drive file. What's the Google Drive file? It says sharing Mojo. I don't know what that is. Mojo, do you have like a Google Drive that you share?
No,
Ooh.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know
Oh,
what
is that a
is.
clip?
Why is the rum always gone?
Says
Why
I-
is the rum always?
Says I need access. Why is the rum always gone? Yes. Cheers, Wino. Cheers, Wino. Wino also likes the rum.
He says delete that message, mods. Oh, it's still popping.
Ooh.
They got it, Sassy. They got it.
We got it. We got it, yo.
Woo!
You go woo. I go woo.
Because I'm looking at you.
Is my face does my face now match my shirt?
It's getting red. It's
Can
getting
you
red.
tell? Can you tell? Like
So then, do you have wipes to like wipe your hands?
I
off
just
so
have
you
paper
don't-
towels. I literally have a roll of paper towels that sits here for me to use specifically for
Hi,
this.
Jax.
Hello, Jax. Welcome on in. We're currently on a hype train,
I hit the wrong keys. Go hype.
and Mojo is eating Coca-Cola Oreos and drinking Oreo flavored Coca-Cola, and I am
I
of
don't know
course
if you guys
doing
have tried this.
the traditional spicy chips. So
It's
yeah.
zero sugar, which I think is good because otherwise it'd be.
I prefer the zero sugar, not necessarily for the flavor, but my stomach prefers it. Like the fake sucrose, glucose, fructose corn syrup does not make my stomach happy. Although I do have a Coca-Cola over here because I needed caffeine.
Well, here I am, Jax.
Wondering if Mojo is part of the community. Where it's a giant. I really think that this is like 7 degrees of separation as far as streamers go. Like you can get to any streamer if you just follow people who follow people enough. You can get from any one streamer to another streamer.
Yeah.
If only we could see who everyone follows, so that we could actually like accurately play that game. It could be kind of fun.
Yeah, I actually was saying it would be really cool if Twitch would create a way to track your connections.
Yeah. Like a little web.
Like, hey, you followed this person because somebody else rated in or something,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. Well, because sometimes you get followed by like, and sometimes you'll get rated by somebody that you don't know. They'll just you're playing the same game or something, and so that they then raid you, and now you're connected.
Yeah.
So my mouth hurts. Gave you a follow, Mojo Jojo. Yes. Definitely.
Thanks,
Let's while we're doing the hype train. Hello, Namvin. Namvin, hello, welcome on in. I've been hanging out in Namvin streams lately. Those have been lots of fun.
He's a wonderful retro streamer.
He is. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna pin it.
I got these cheeseburgers, man.
Oh my god! Shout you out, Mojo. And then we're gonna
not
pin
the
it.
cheeseburgers.
Gorilla gunk.
I play a lot of Fortnite
There's somebody with a medallion.
lately. Oh my god, that's funny.
Did he have any heels on his body?
A lot of the community plays. I haven't played it yet, and I'm like, maybe I should. But welcome in, Nanvin. Thank you so much for the follow. We have completed the hype train. We completed that level 1.
Hey!
Whew, I only had to do 1 chip, and you only had to do one treat, or you only got to have 1 treat. I guess is the real way of
It was good stuff.
doing that. We were talking, what do you think are a few tools people can use to kind of get over trauma? Since we're talking about the effects of trauma, are there some tools that you think are helpful?
Yes. So
And obviously none of these things are universal for everyone, but they're
right.
a broad spectrum because some people, everybody's a little bit different.
Definitely. I think an outlet is important, whether it be in the arts or physical activity. For example, I used to play soccer in school, but I went and joined a recreational soccer team indoors.
Raid! Raid from Namvin! Welcome on in, Raiders. Let me pause the thing. Welcome on in, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This show is Off the Pod. We are joined by our amazing guest who you may know, Mojo Jojo. We're talking about the effects of trauma today. We were earlier talking about mental health, taking care of mental health, our personal mental health journeys. We're going to talk about remembering our ancestry and heritage today. We're going to do some potluck, which is whatever we want to talk about. And it's an interactive stream, so feel free to join in on the conversation and talk with us. Can we get a shout out for Namvin, Curly Girl, if you're available to give Namvin a shout out as well? Come on in with a raid. We appreciate it. There we go. Steven the Shark's in here. Steven's got it. Thank you, Steven.
Oh, you dick. You rotten person.
Boom, there he is.
Say that to my face. Say that to my face, Aaron.
Look at that beautiful Nammy face.
Which means I got to go over because I had Namvin up in the background. And so I got to go close
I
that
just
down.
had to switch mine too.
I'm a bad human being.
Look at that handsome dude.
Nam Nams. I actually had the pleasure of meeting him in person.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not that good of a person, so that's fine. I get it.
Amazing person. Amazing. Has a beard that rivals my own.
Hi, Hannibal Electra. There are some hot beard daddies out here.
There are. Holy crap, speaking of raids! Holy cow, it's Jern! Jern coming in, Irish John Games. Jern, how was your stream? Welcome on in. How are you? I was also lurking over there. Holy cow. Welcome on
Welcome
in.
in, Raiders.
Here's a shout out for
Yes,
Jen.
nerd, it's me again. Yeah, I was just thinking there earlier, would it not be great if you came on now and talked to me about DSN bandwidth? Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like a riveting
No,
conversation.
NASA. No.
One-sided.
None of that boring shit. No. SpaceX.
I wonder if he's
launch.
actually talking to
Is that
someone
what
or if
you're
he's
doing?
like
no, this would be much
just
more
pretending
fun.
like he's doing.
DSN
like a spoof.
bandwidth, nerd. Yeah?
I think he's talking to Nerd We Know.
Yeah?
Also
Wanna
awesome
talk
streamer.
about some DSM bandwidth? I don't know why my voice was going like that. That's weird. Good luck.
Beep.
Good day.
Nerd, we know.
Awesome. We love Irish John Games. He is a game designer. He's currently working on the Rise of Piracy game. Go and check it out. You can favorite that on Steam. Make sure to get some numbers on that game. Rise of Piracy. Welcome on in, everybody who came on both of these raids. Thank you so much for being here. Hello, Ninja Games, Dr. Captain Sir. Welcome in. Mel's Games. Ronders? Is it Rondas? Skelly Red Hawk, Eljo Bro? Is it Eljo or Elgo Bro? Welcome on in. Sigma Zippy, welcome in. Icy April Dawn, Personal, welcome on in, everybody. Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Beetlejuice.
Mr. Beetlejuice is here.
No, don't say it again.
Mr. Beetlejuice. But welcome on in, everybody. My name is Nick. I'm the host of Epic Realms. Mondays is talk show night. Tonight we are joined by the amazing Mojo Jojo. You can click in the pin thing or in the title and go and give her a follow as well. She's an amazing streamer. Does all kinds of stuff. We're doing a lot of mental health talk today on the show. We change subjects every 20 minutes unless there's a raid or something happens, and then we pause it. If you're curious about me in general, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays are video game nights. Wednesday is tabletop role-playing night. You can come here and watch some tabletop role-playing, whether it's D&D or Pathfinder or Call of Cthulhu or whatever. But yeah, Mondays is talk show night. Tonight is Off the Pod. Next week is our actual podcast, the Epic Realms podcast. We're going to be joined by author and game designer Jedediah Barry. So lots of awesome stuff. So thank you, Ninja and Personal, for the follow. And of course, thank you to Namvin and thank you to Irish John Games for the raids. Please stick around. Feel free to join us in this conversation. We're talking about the effects of trauma right now, and we got all kinds of fun topics. So please stay here and have some fun with us and enjoy the conversation. Again, whatever you say, if you have conversation pieces, if you got something to throw in, we will absolutely get to it as well. So Mojo, you were talking about tools for taking care of trauma, and then we got raided. We got raided twice.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes. We love those guys.
So, yes, for those of you that are new, we've been kind of talking about a little bit of my mental health background. And so I used to be a counselor in a crisis facility. And what I've learned for tools are that not any, as you were saying before the raids came in, there's not any one combination of these tools that works for everyone. Like, you definitely are going to have to do some experimenting to see what works for you.
Yeah.
But as we're talking about self-awareness, a lot of people find journaling very helpful to kind of help with that self-awareness piece and just reflecting back on being able to go back in your journal and look at times where maybe you had a struggle or a triumph, and you go back and look at that recorded memory, and it helps you springboard into whatever you're having a struggle with in that moment, whether it's achieving your goals, not achieving your goals, because a lot of us can be really hard on ourselves when we can't capitalize on the goals that we set forth for ourselves. But that's a part of the journey in the process, right? Journaling just helps us document those things. And so being able to go back into a journal and see how far you've come is also very therapeutic. So journaling is one. Not everyone likes to journal though. So when I say tapping into the arts or something that's physically active to where you can kind of give yourself a structure that works for you, martial arts was really helpful for me.
Thank you,
yes,
Gabriel.
we love pirates.
Yar.
Welcome in. Yar.
Yar.
So you know, whether you're an athletic person or not, sometimes getting involved in something like a recreational sport, I think is what I was talking about, right? I used to play soccer
Yeah.
indoors recreationally, and that helped me. I played softball. Because those kind of things help you process things physically, but you're also taking care of yourself in your body, you know. And it helps you feel like you're doing something productive and constructive and healthy for yourself also. So like martial arts, sports, working out regularly,
Yeah.
which some of us really, it helps with your self-confidence boost, but also biologically and chemically, you get your serotonin releases and feeling good about yourself and things like that. So those are a couple of the main things, but also obviously we're going to say tapping into therapy resources if you can, or if you care to. There's some things where you don't ever have to talk to a person. There's an app called, I think it's called Mint. I have it in my Discord. Let me pull up real fast.
Okay.
And it's just an app, and when you register into this app, you can actually chat to someone via text, and some of us do better with that in this day and age, right?
Right.
Where you're just like, hey, I'm really anxious right now, and then they'll kind of just text with you back and forth about, you know, hey, well, let's try some breathing things. Breathing exercises are huge. Some of us forget to breathe, you know, when we're going through like a panic attack or things like that. So those kind of resources that are available now that weren't available to us when we were younger, right, Nick? Like, can be huge for some of us.
Yeah.
So I think it's called, here it is right here. And I can paste a link to it if you're okay with that, or
Yeah.
give you the link.
Send it to me. Oh, you can. You got gifted a sub today. You can post links.
Oh, heck yes. Also 988 is the hotline. You can text or call.
Okay.
So these kind of resources, those are the other tools. Oh Lord, where is it? It's Autism Speaks. Anywho, there is the Bubble app for teen mental health. I'll post that if you have teenagers.
Welcome in, Travel the World. Thank you for joining
Hey,
us.
Travel the World. So
Coming
here's
on in on
that
the raid.
one.
Yep. The Bubble app.
That's a
There we go.
Bubble, and this one's called Ginger, not Mint. Lord, okay.
Ginger mint. You know, they're both plants.
Something.
I have a ginger mint plant, so a mint ginger plant, so that counts. Hello, Turgis.
like
Welcome
ginger
on in with
pants,
the
too.
raid. Thank
No,
you
I'm
for
just
joining
kidding.
us.
That's Ginger. So
Okay.
like these are app-based programs that you can tap into to talk to someone if you don't feel like actually calling someone on the phone and you'd rather just text through an app. Those help. Here's the 988. Here's the 988 crisis link, because we are technically still in Suicide Prevention Month, which is every September. But of course, we don't have to just do that kind of work in September.
Right.
Reach
And we
out
shouldn't.
yeah, and you shouldn't. It could be something as, yeah, like obviously you don't want to go to everyone you care about and be like, are you suicidal? But sometimes it's as simple as just reaching out to someone because you're thinking about them. You know, hey, I was thinking about you today. I hope everything's going okay. Something simple like that, just a simple outreach, whether it's in a message, a text, or, you know, whatever. It can definitely help someone's thoughts stop if they're having suicidal ideations. Like, someone's thinking about me, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So that's for us as people trying to support others that may be going through trauma. Is just the having the mindfulness that maybe there's someone in our community or within our connections that we could be reaching out to, just to give them a quick, like a quick thoughtful message, you know?
Yeah. Even if it's just like, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah, like,
Looking
did
good?
you have a good poop today? I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. And that's
You know-
really important.
You know that's going to be the message to you, isn't it? Another raid! DJ Death's Joker, my buddy Death's Joker coming on in with the raid. Guys, go and follow Death's Joker. He's been doing a lot of World of Warcraft lately. He's known for his Dead by Daylight.
The wowers.
We talked about drinking. He's a drinking Dead by Daylight streamer who's turned into a drinking World of Warcraft streamer. Although I guess he's going to be doing a very special Dead by Daylight return coming up. He mentioned earlier today.
Ooh, exciting.
So yeah, guys, go and check out the Death's Joker. How are you doing, DJ?
That was my original content when I first started streaming.
Dead by Daylight?
I would just play Dead by Daylight.
You.
I did quite a bit early on as well. There he is.
Oh shit! Fuck that! Oh my god!
Oh, he plays killer.
Okay, that nearly fucking got me.
He does both. Yeah, he does both. He does killer and he would start off the day as like he starts off a couple rounds of killer and then get some people together and play as survivor as well.
Mm.
You're gonna get a monster energy.
I'm a terrible killer. Everyone will always escape.
Depending on the killer, I can be pretty good. As a survivor though, I'm just crap all the time. So
I don't drink energy drinks.
I
don't
drink coffee.
Being coffee.
I used to drink
Anyways, guys, go and give Death's Joker a follow if you like the DJ, if you like the Dead by Daylight, if you like the World of Warcraft. If you just like somebody with a great attitude and this is a lot of fun and just hilarious to watch, DJ Death's Joker is the place to be. So go and check out our pal, the Death's Joker. We loves him. He also we didn't really talk about it, but I do Movember every month, or every November I do Movember in November. And Death's Joker, while not part of the Epic Realms team, he is part of another group that also does Movember every year. So little connection.
What's
there.
Movember?
So Movember is a charity that helps with men's mental health.
There we go.
Usually it's like it was originally focused on prostate cancer and testicular cancer. They moved into suicide prevention just because it's such a big problem with men suicide.
Yes.
Because of talking about things like mental health isn't a guy thing to do. You don't talk about you don't go to the doctor. You don't talk about your feelings, and it's utter garbage. So I really support that organization as well. So November is coming up. October starts tomorrow, and I will start recruiting for people who want to be part of the team again this year, of which I posted everybody in the Black Collar Collective. If any of them want to join, all of them are invited to be part of the team. I would love to have any of them on as part of the team as well. And everybody from previous years is always also welcome to join as well. So if any of you are streamers, feel free, even if you're not streamers and you want to be part of the team, let me know. Give me a shout out. Give me a shouty outie. Do you have another link for the Bubble app? Please, that link didn't work here.
Yes, I'm
Let's get us another link for that.
Right now. Let me see.
But everybody who came in the Death Joker's raid, while she gets that link for you, this is Mojo Jojo, and she is joining us for Off the Pod today. We're talking about mental health, effects of trauma. We're going to talk about heritage, ancestry, people we look up to from our family, all of that kind of stuff. We're also going to talk potluck, which is whatever you want to talk about. Maybe we'll talk about the new Indiana Jones game coming up. Maybe we'll talk about Dead by Daylight. Maybe we'll talk about these really cute butterflies that she's got going on her filter. Who knows? Who knows what we'll talk about? You guys can be part of it.
We were just talking about poop.
We were just talking about poop. Did you poop today?
Did you have a nice poop today?
Yeah. That'll be tomorrow after that spicy chip. Maybe it will be a not so nice
poop
later.
About that poop. I don't think that'll be a good poop. I mean, I don't know. You got to get it.
It was
out
only
of there.
one chip, so it shouldn't be so bad. It shouldn't be too bad. It was. I think it was when Wino was on. I think I had quite a few. I was like, oh my gosh.
So I think I'm gonna have to remove Bubble app because I think it's no longer around. But what I did find is I found a list of 10 free apps for kids and teens.
Like an alternate to Bubble. You probably just Google alternate to Bubble app. Oh yeah, and Stephen the Shark said, or when Roddy decided to punish us. Stephen, Roddy was deciding to punish you when you did Off the Pod because you kept challenging her that she couldn't get another hype train, and she took you on your challenge, and you had so much to drink you almost passed out on stream.
Uh-oh.
Because he was Stephen the Shark on Off the Pod was doing every time we got a level of hype train, I'd do a spicy chip and he would take a shot. Again, if you have issues with alcohol consumption problems, please let us know and we will not go down that line of discussion. But there we go. There's some links.
We can adjust.
Thank you so much, Mojo, for posting those links.
Of course.
Definitely appreciate that. I had an exclamation mark Nami command, but it's like, this command doesn't work, so I had to like go and copy it and paste it in there. But I do have an exclamation mark Nami command for all time. So hello, Bentley, welcome in. Thank you for the lurk.
Hello, Bentley. I have to say that before she lurks.
Right. We loves the Bentley as well. Bentley also a big major person helping with mental health and talking about mental health. Her and Octavius both are very big into talking about mental health and taking care of yourself. I think it's one of the reasons that the group of us get along so well is because we have a lot of similar things that we care about, especially when it comes to what we talk about on stream. When we talk about serious things and we're not just talking about, human genitalia as a joke.
Yeah, ass and titties, dick and balls. Get your prostate checked. Okay,
get your prostate. Have you checked your butthole and have you pooped today? So there we go. Right. When we're talking about effects of trauma, and talking about ways of dealing with it, everybody finds different ways of dealing with it. Me personally, and I've talked about this before, is I like to sit down and like logic. I'm very logical when it comes to a lot of stuff, and I like to look at how things work. And we talked a little bit earlier about like the opening of the whole anger management and whatever, but I've noticed that going back and just analyzing it in the moment, or as close to the moment as I can, what causes a trigger, why is that for me considered trauma when it's not considered trauma for, say, someone else? What about this particular thing is it that's there? And looking at it and analyzing it and breaking it apart, for me personally, is super helpful in dealing with that and acknowledging, okay, this is a thing that I need to look at, this is a thing that bothers me, and why that is a trauma, and how to, that's a way of me to tackle it, is to look at that kind of objectively and almost coldly sometimes, and just taking it apart piece by piece. And I don't know if that's something you've seen before or heard before, or your thoughts on that, but that's kind of one of the things that I use as a tool.
Yeah. Working with kids, we had to find a lot of ways to explain things to where they could visualize it, because something that's difficult to explain at those age ranges is PTSD and trauma. But essentially, one of the ways we used to explain it is, I heard someone explain it as an onion.
Oh yeah.
It has layers.
Yeah.
And until you peel back the layers and you get to the core of the issue, and an onion makes you cry, and that's
a great analogy.
It's bitter, and it's, sometimes you gotta peel back those bitter layers to find the core of the issue there, and then saute that onion to make something delicious. That's our timer.
Timer is up. We did pause it a handful of times for a couple of the raids and the follows in the hype train, so that was that was a longer topic, but it's good. It's probably good that was a topic that's been sitting up there for a while.
Yeah, but it's a great topic for sure.
It is, and like I said, like we said earlier, like everybody should see a therapist. Everybody has mental health issues, and I think everybody has trauma, whether they realize it or not. Everybody's got something that was traumatic in their life, like you said, even if it's as simple as a pet that passed away, or a family member, or you stubbed your toe in this one place, whatever it is.
You keep subbing your toe there, type thing. But it's important also, I just want to say this last thing.
Yeah.
That I don't feel like therapy is for everyone if they're not willing to go to therapy, realizing that the therapist isn't going to fix things for you. It's actually a lot of work that you're going to do. In a lot of scenarios, the therapist is there to help you realize certain things because they have the knowledge from their studies of psychology.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they don't know everything about you, so they can't help you fix anything per se. It's really going to be you doing a lot of the work.
Yeah, they're
They're going
giving
to
you the
point some
tools.
things out. Right. Exactly. They're going to point some things out. They may give you some advice or some exercises / homework to do, which is why I say you have to be ready to do the homework, because it may be something like what your wife said that we were mentioning earlier, where it's like, do you realize that XYZ that you just told me is probably coming from somewhere else?
Yeah.
And then they'll tell you to delve deep into yourself so that you can come to the realization of what that core is, like what it is, that's so that you can start breaking it down. A lot of times our outward behaviors are an effect of something else that happened to us, and that's exactly what you were describing in your journey.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
go grab some food, Death Joker.
Do it, DJ. Get some food. Take care of yourself. We're talking about
Yes.
mental health. Take care of yourself. Everybody who raided today, anybody who came along with the raid, if you need to take care of yourself, take care of yourself.
You better go do that.
Do it. Get a snack, get food,
Go
get
do
water.
it.
If you got to get away from the computer and you don't want to look at a screen or your phone or your whatever, take care of yourself. That is the most important, and everybody here will tell you that. So,
Yes. You can't take care of anyone else until you take care of yourself. And
Right.
that's a lot of times I get parents that say, "No, my kids come first." Well, what are you going to do for your kids if you're not
Yeah.
at your best, you have to have time for you still, even still. And we have people out here that are taking care of their elders, and they're, you know, caregivers in that way. Maybe they don't have children, but they're still struggling to take care of themselves because they're taking care of someone else. Caregiver mental health. That's a whole nother bucket. So anyways, we won't get into
yeah.
that.
Well,
Well,
I
maybe
mean,
we will
maybe
get
we
into
will.
it in the future.
Maybe
have
we will.
potluck.
Who
Yeah,
knows? Potluck, or I mean, we're talking about looking into our elders, looking into our ancestry, looking into our heritage.
Yes.
People, uncles, great uncles, grandparents, people that came before us. We're going to be talking about all that in our next topic. I have it titled "Remembering Our Ancestry," but it's going to be a little bit more than that. So we're going to talk about that after our break. So guys, like I said, if you need to take care of yourself, because right now we need to take care of ourselves.
I'm going to go poop.
Yeah,
I'm
gonna
just
go poop,
kidding.
and then we'll come back and we'll find out if you had a good poop or not. So guys, please stick around through the break, and I'm gonna play an ad. Ads help support us, so thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the Raiders. Please stick around, but if you need to take care of yourselves, take care of yourselves, and we hope to see you again down the road. We will be on break. We'll be back in about 5, 10, 15 minutes, just whenever we get all of our self-care done. We will see you in just a few short minutes. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves or enjoy these wonderful clips. We'll see you in just a little bit. So, what can you tell us about it?
Okay, so you had Chris on last week.
We
and
did.
He described it. I don't know if I'm going to describe it the same way, but here we go. So, Basil and Mobius is an urban fantasy series that would happen if Indiana Jones and James Bond teamed up to go do a series of missions for a Cthulhu monster disguised as a person. And they fight all manner of eldritch horrors and evil sorcerers from prehistoric times, and one very scary vampire ghoul lady who I created in my story, The Machine, which is in one of the Basil and Mobius books. I think it's
because this series kind of sounds like
Little
it's
Hells.
an accumulation of the themes of all of the stuff we've covered so far. What were some of your other favorite shows or movies that you did?
Well, I just did an episode of 911 that was incredible fun to do. I really enjoyed doing that. I'd have to say possibly my favorite experience, with the exception of Justice League, because working with Zack Snyder is amazing and incredible in every way. Doing Almost Famous was unbelievable.
Okay.
Cameron Crowe is such an amazing director. He's such a good guy. It was telling that story, and it was like 4 months. It was how I spent a summer, was hanging out with a bunch of people who all liked each other, and we would play guitars all day and laugh, and sometimes they would turn a camera on us, and it was a journey into an era of music that I love, and it was just heavenly.
run the Pell RPG twice for
Okay.
world builders at Emerald City Comic Con.
Okay.
At their kind of big party where you contribute to charity and you get to come in and play games. And if you're at my table, you usually get free cake because my friend Adam Mercunius always brings us a nice gluten-free cake. But yeah,
Nice.
this is my spellbinder that contains the Pell RPG that I have written. But it's different than other RPG games because instead of like heavily dice rolling and math, it's all about, well, the gods of Pell, Pellinus is the Pell god. It's a two-headed god like Janus, which is me and Kevin.
Right.
And they just want to be entertained. They don't really care if you're good or bad. They're going to be entertained. So it's like, it's not necessarily that you roll the dice. It's that you close your eyes and you stab this with your pencil. And then the gods interpret whatever you land on. Oh no's or the skull usually doesn't go well.
The thing I'm still best known for, it was called Night Train. And it was about basically a drain full of vampires. And that one just captured everyone's imagination. And from there, I went to reading over one of the first source books they released. And then I ended up writing the second one, Hucksters and Hexes. And maybe the third, Fire and Brimstone, and then on from there. So it was something I had thought about getting into.
And those are some core books for that system. Like when you wanted to play the game, other than the main book, those books, those two that you just mentioned right now, those were huge content pieces for people that wanted to play certain roles.
We took a picture of the tape. Like he was like, don't take any pictures of this because people on the internet will take it apart. And our intern at the time took a photo across the table of me playing and how happy I was. And he was like, yeah, go ahead and post that one. And then people literally zoomed in, like, it's me facing her and all the papers on the table in front of us. And people were literally like drilling into that and like typing what they saw on the pieces of paper. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
They premiered this song in concert at a convention I was at PAX East. And they showed the video of it. And I was watching it and I was like, that's a really good idea for a game. And so for the rest of the concert, I spent just sort of thinking about this game that was, coming into my head. What I forgot was that they had put me down in the sort of front row guest seats and there was a camera on me the whole time. And so what would happen was you would see, Paul and Storm on stage, and then they'd cut to the crowd in this guest area, and everybody would be laughing and having a great time. And I'd just be sitting there going, and just like I couldn't be less interested in what was going on.
Like we had 1 year to develop everything, which is, for folks who are not involved in this sort of stuff, that's real fast for a book that had to be like the requirements early on were just kind of laughable because we said, okay, it's got to be as robust as Pathfinder. And remember, Pathfinder's already like a 576 page book, something like that. It's got to be as robust as Pathfinder, but it's got to be easier to learn than Pathfinder. It also should have a bunch of setting material in there and like monsters and like, what if, and of course, starship combat. And so like we had all these must-haves and paginated it out. And it was like, guys, this is a 1,000-page, core rule book. And Eric's saying, that's great. We want all of that. And it needs to be shorter than the Pathfinder core rule book.
Wow.
So,
and in a month's time.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of Star Trek as a kid. I remember the original series. I was so upset when it went off. I was like 10 years old and I loved it. So the first real Star Trek episode I got, and it was the best part I played, was on Deep Space Nine. I played a Bajoran resistance leader and I had the little funny little thing on my nose.
Yeah.
I loved it. And then And then I kept get cut. The casting people really liked me, and they would bring me in for stuff, and it was smaller roles, oftentimes just to get my health coverage. But I remember one time when I played a Starfleet officer. It was on the one when the Borg was eating everybody. I forgot the name of the movie, but
First Contact? No.
yeah, First Contact. Yeah, it was
it
First
Contact. Okay.
So I wrote Master Formalities, and then I submitted it to my publisher, 47 North, and thankfully they liked it and they published it. And then I wrote I think I wrote The Authorities, but 47 North is a science fiction.
Right.
And there's very little, extremely tiny bits of science fiction in it. It's, actually the little things I had in it that were science fiction, like they were so light that they actually became, reality within like 2 years.
Okay.
Like before the book was published, drones were better than I had them in that book.
Right.
But anyway, so I self-published The Authorities, and then I wrote Run Program, and they published that, and I was very happy about that. But I've sort of done a mix of self-published and published through either 47 North or through Audible.
Okay. Was Art Bell much of an inspiration for you and the show?
Oh, sure. Yeah, Art Bell is amazing. George Norrie, Art Bell. I had a chance to Ian Punnett. Ian Punnett was the first fill-in host.
Okay.
For Art Bell, and then they brought George Norrie in, and I'm friends with Ian, and Ian's the one that recommended me to Coast, so I got to fill in for 5 years, and then that led me to the opportunity to take over Midnight in the Desert, Art Bell's final show.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I'm the only other host in the world besides Art Bell that hosted Coast to Coast and Midnight in the Desert. So,
are you familiar with the term pantsing?
Yes.
People are outliners or pantsers. They write by the seat of their pants. So I had a vague idea of this novel I wanted to write in my own world. And I just sat down and started writing.
I mean, pantsing for some people means something completely different, but I know what you mean.
In the writing vernacular, nothing to do with actual pants.
Well, this question asks, how do you feel about shows like Stranger Things changing the lore for D&D? Do you view this as a good thing to get people involved in the lore, or a bad thing for the original lore overall? I think that's a great question.
It's a wonderful thing. D&D's lore is meant to be individualized by whoever's sitting around the gaming table, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I play D&D in my Demon Wars world. I'm not using Forgotten Realms lore, or sometimes I am.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'm mixing the two, or I'm changing it. I think it's awesome that you can be a D&D player or a Magic player or a whatever game player now and not feel like you have to hide somewhere to go tell.
And we are back. Thank you guys so much for sticking around through the break. Did you have a good poo?
The poo was great.
The poo is
now I'm
great.
not full of shit anymore.
Oh, that's great. I am. I always am. I don't care how much I get out. It always happens. But yeah, welcome on in, everybody. If you missed what had happened earlier, we talked mental health in two different varieties. We talked about our mental health journeys. We talked about the things we were doing. We talked about all kinds of just stuff, all kinds of stuff in the mental health spectrum. We also went on to talk about traumatic experiences, how you deal with trauma, the effects of trauma, what trauma kind of looks like, in all different ranges, all different scopes, from the minute to the large. And we kind of got rid of some of the misnomers, some of the ways that the public views them as well. So I'm covered up. They can't see me dancing, so you have to.
That little raccoony baby.
I love that. I love that alert so much. I made an emote out of it. I had to get an
That's so
emote because it's so
cute.
cute. I loves it. I loves it. We also are coming up. We're going to talk about our heritage, remembering our ancestry, the people that came before us. And I know you have a little, like, kind of a special thing going on when it comes to is it your grandmother that you mentioned to me?
Yes. Well, my grandmother passed away a couple of years ago, and that side of my family is from South Korea. Um, and I actually am writing a book about my mom.
Okay.
And so I kind of talked about that on my 13th anniversary stream this past Saturday, and had my mom on stream with me, and she chatted with us for the first couple of hours. And a part of what I'm wanting to do is to capture her experience immigrating to the United States in the late 1970s, early 1980s, and publishing that so that it's kind of written into history. And because she's been through a lot.
Yeah.
My father was in the Air Force, and they met and fell in love in South Korea, and then she immigrated over to the States with him. But she endured a lot of culture shock
Yeah.
and racism back then, because it, you know, the Asian population wasn't very integrated into the rest of society
Yeah.
back then. And her being a military wife and immigrating in that way also caused some strain on her as well. Like, I mean, within the military, my dad's military friends, it was a norm.
Yeah.
But the rest of society kind of snickered and stuff at her and him for bringing someone overseas over, including my dad's own family. Like my paternal grandmother was kind of like, what, why would you do that? You know,
Wow.
kind of thing. So yeah, it's a riveting story with really funny things that are going to happen in there. Like, some of the stories my mom told were pretty funny. Like, she has this one story where she says this one lady told her to go back to where she came from, and she said, I'm a grown woman, I'm too big to go back into my mama's coochie. So, you know, so like my mom she is definitely someone that I admire and I strive to be more like. She's been through a whole lot medically as well. Her medical history is crazy. She had tuberculosis, had to have half of one of her lungs removed. She's a colon cancer survivor. She was told she had breast cancer and 6 months to live when she was in her 30s. She's had a stroke. She's just been through so much, and she's still here as strong as ever. And so I want to pay homage to her by publishing this book. And I just try to spend as much time as I can with her to learn all the recipes from the cuisine, the culture, the traditions. And that's my Korean side of the family. On that side of the family, I have her, my uncle, and a cousin left that's in South Korea, but that's about it. On the other side, my paternal side, I have Filipino and Irish. So this tattoo I actually got for my grandparents on that side of the family.
Okay.
And it is the Filipino sunburst with blossoms inside to
Yeah.
represent me. And then this knot in the middle is a Celtic Dara knot. I'm not sure if so. I'm Irish and Filipino on that side.
Okay.
And that's due to the Navy. So I have a lot of military in my background. I actually have a family member who has retired from the Army. And so it's just a very it's something that affects the culture very much, right? Because
Right.
it's blending us.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. And if you guys don't know about what the Dara knot symbolizes, I kind of decided to get the Dara knot because it's supposed to represent like the root system of an oak tree. And so in a lot of ways I thought that it'd be cool for it to symbolize like my family tree.
Yeah, your roots.
Yeah, my roots. And so it's kind of cool in that regard. But I've always been an advocate for anyone to really learn about their heritage and keep some of those traditions alive, because
Yeah.
if we don't, they die with us, you know. So my mom's been very proactive too in trying to teach me the recipes and some of the traditions and things like that. So I'm very thankful for that.
Stephen
I
the
don't-
Shark mentioned that Korea has the best food, and food is the way to the man's heart. So now we know how they got together. Stephen the
Yeah,
Shark knows.
that's
He must have
true.
been there. He must have been there when that happened.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm biased, but I would agree. The food in Korea is like definitely one of the highlights of the culture.
Have you
But
done any
there's
of the like the DNA test sort of things to see like the specific locales and any of that kind of stuff?
I actually somebody gifted me a kit. What is it called? Like your
Ancestry or 23andMe
ancestry
or something like that?
23andMe, yeah, or
Okay.
something.
That's
You're
the one I
supposed to
did. I
like
did 23andMe.
swab your saliva
Yeah.
and send it in to be analyzed. So I have it, and I do plan to do it at some point because I would really like
It's a
to
little
know.
spendy, isn't it?
It's a little expensive, yeah. I think it's like a couple $100 or something. But I think it'd be worth it because there was some speculation that on my paternal grandfather, he's the one that's supposed to be the Irish component of our ethnic background, but we were suspicious there might be some Polish in there.
Okay.
So I'm like, it's cool to know that about yourself because it sort of ties into mental health also. Like, I know we're already on a different topic, but different cultures handle mental health differently.
Yeah.
And like, for example, my mom and the Korean side of my family, they don't believe in therapy. They think if you can't work your stuff out between you and your own family, like you're failing at life. Like
Oh, wow.
they don't think you should talk to anybody that's a stranger about your problems. So yeah, so anyways, that's interesting, but I definitely obviously want to keep the culture alive and the traditions alive, but those kind of things, those kind of ideals, my mom is very very forward thinking and open minded, so thankfully, she's
Yeah.
she's been more conventional in that way and like advocated for me to get help and things like that. So
I had the struggle of not knowing entirely half of my ancestry, my heritage. I grew up with my mom and a stepdad, and my real father died around when I was born, and so I didn't really know. I didn't know who that was. I didn't know what that history was.
that half of your history,
And it was when my mom, not about a year before my mom had passed away, she gave me a name of who my biological father was, and she said she had told me multiple times. Maybe she did and I forgot. But I have a birth certificate that says one name. I have a baby book that says another name. I have pictures in photo albums that say other names, and then I have my stepdad. So I never really knew, and the name she gave me wasn't in any of that.
Oh my
all.
gosh.
So she finally had told me who the name was, and I was like, great. I wish I knew what I could do with that, right? Because he was gone. She's like, and she always told me I had a half brother out there somewhere. And then I had somebody randomly message me on Facebook. They had a big, deep, dark secret. They were in their 80s and they couldn't go to their grave without telling me this big, deep, dark secret. And they were like, by the way, so-and-so isn't your real dad. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I've known that since I was 8. And she's like, oh my God, that's such a relief. Whatever. But then I got my hopes up. I'm like, do you know who it is? Getting a separate confirmation. She's like, yeah, it's so-and-so. Same person my mom finally told me. And I was like, oh, great. Can you help me out here? Do you know something? Well, I went to school with him. So that just opened up all of these things. So I actually found out a bunch of relatives. I was like, okay, my next step is I need a DNA test just so I have something. I can't just show up on someone's doorstep and say, hey, I'm your nephew. I'm your brother, your whatever. Because they're going to be like, okay, what do you want? Right. And that's not what I wanted. What I wanted is I wanted a picture. I wanted to know what my dad actually looked like. And so, yeah, I got that. And I eventually got a hold of my uncle and chatted with him and got his stuff. I got the ancestry. I got all of the things. I'm like, great. I know the other half now. I know the other half. We talk about mental health.
Cool.
Yeah. And we talk about mental health. You have no idea. Maybe you do have an idea how much not knowing where half of your everything is affects you as a human being growing up throughout your childhood, throughout your, high school, throughout all of that. You don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Who am I? And so it was really great getting to put that to rest and getting to meet with him, my uncle, and like just immediately getting accepted. And it was super cool. So
Yeah.
I've been really fortunate to look into that part of my ancestry. My mom is like Scandinavian Irish. That's her main stuff is, and she really focused on the Ireland stuff, and my aunt, her sister, really focused on the Norwegian Scandinavian side. And so those Swedish and Norwegian were like my aunt's focus, and she's like, yeah, I'm Scandinavian, and my mom's like, no, I'm Irish. They're the same. So there we go.
Right.
Everybody, we've got a whole crowd between you and I. And half of the chat were Irish.
Yeah, right.
So one of
So
us,
that's
as
really
Sassy
cool.
Squatchers say, one of us.
One of us. Yes, absolutely. And that I did work with some kids that were in the foster care system and who were adopted and that definitely takes a big toll on us as individuals in society. Is not knowing who you're coming from, like you're derived of.
Yeah.
Definitely causes some identity issues. And I'm glad that you had such a good experience with finding that side of your family. That's not always the case,
No, it's not.
Sometimes people are like in denial, like, no, you're not. You're not my family. So I'm glad that they were really accepting.
Yeah, and they didn't even know. Like, I told them afterwards. So, like, I do have a DNA test if you want to. They're like, no, you look just like your dad. We know. You're telling the truth. And I was like,
Yeah,
great. And I got a
definitely
picture. I
came
finally
from
did
your
get a picture
father.
of him as an adult.
Did
So
you?
I know. Yeah, I did.
That's so cool.
My mom used to always tell me, like, oh yeah, he was like super big guy. They used to always tell me that I was supposed to be 6'8" and like 250 pounds was my size. I was like, when I was born, the doctors are like, this is what we project his size to be, even though he's premature. This is what we expect. And then finding out that like apparently he was a ultra large guy as well. So I was like, okay, that checks out.
Well, how tall are you?
I'm only 6'1", but I had undiagnosed celiac disease. So I was premature birth and undiagnosed celiac disease. So my body didn't absorb nutrients. So I literally have stunted growth, and I'm still 6'1", about 200 pounds. So
yeah. Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
That's
that would have
cool.
had we had caught the celiac disease right around being born. I probably would my professional wrestling career probably would have gone a lot further.
Right.
Beetlejuice says, Nick, my great-great-grandfather actually missed the Titanic before it left Belfast, and if he was on the ship, I wouldn't be here today. And during the 1916 rising in Dublin, Ireland, my great-grandmother hid guns under her skirt, and she got them for the Irish rebels who were fighting for Ireland's right to become free from British rule during that year. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
On my grandma's side, I don't know if you have, Mojo, if you have any like celebrity ancestors, but on my great grandmother's last name was Drake, and we tracked back, and it literally goes back being related to Sir Francis Drake, the first Englishman to sail around the world. So whenever people ask me about my pirate character, Captain Maxwell Drake, the Drake name comes from my great grandmother, who I had a really great relationship with, and that whole, I'm playing a pirate character who's a sailor named Drake. So sometimes I get some like, well, where'd you steal that name from? It's like, well, technically it's from my grandma. It's my grandma's last name. But yes, I am related to Sir Francis Drake.
That's really cool.
On that side. So that's kind of a fun thing. What about you? Any ancestry celebrities or anybody that did anything super cool that you know of?
I don't know of anything.
Other than your mom, who sounds super awesome, by the way.
My mom is cool. In my ancestry, I'm not sure, but I have some living relatives that are sort of in the spotlight. Do you remember that movie Hook?
Yes.
So Rufio is actually my cousin.
Oh,
His
really?
name's Dante. Mm-hmm. And he also voiced the one of the main characters in the Avatar series.
Oh, okay.
The Airbender. So he's done that, and then our niece on that side of the family was in Birds of Prey.
Oh.
She was
the TV
Cassandra
series?
Cain. No, the movie with Margot Robbie.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
So yes, he was Zuko Jedi, the voice of Zuko. So that branch of the family is still doing work because he started a clothing label. He did some spoken word poetry. He does a Monday Cinema Club on Instagram with his wife, and he actually made a full-length film that he directed and wrote and everything and produced.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
So what you're saying is awesome charisma runs in your family. Got it.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's what we've got. He's on the Bosco. If you guys are ever in my channel, you see Gabriel Bosco. He's him and Dante Bosco. You know, so that they're all on the cousin branches over there. But
Sassy says we need you to do a voiceover because you are so cool. You do have an amazing voice, by the way. We might have to talk about singing and music in the potluck, by the way.
Yeah. I actually always say that I feel like I'm way less talented than the rest of my family in terms of singing, but I have been told that I should do voiceovers. So if I ever find a link to get into that realm, since we're in the epic realm here, that realm,
the realm of stuff,
I would definitely look into it because somebody told me I have a radio quality voice.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which sometimes can be have you ever had someone tell you have the voice for radio, or you have the face? Or I heard somebody tell someone else you have a face for radio.
I hate that.
Which basically means
it's an insult.
It's basically
an
insult. Yeah, like you're ugly, but you have a nice voice. Oh my gosh, like who does that?
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing. Tra la la.
Nothing. Tra la la. Thank you for
Seriously, Jedi, you could also do some voiceover work. Jedi has a beautiful voice.
He does.
If you ever come to the karaoke streams, we'll talk about that during potluck.
Right.
He's our country singer.
He is.
Oh.
And I recently found out that Octavius is a great country singer person too. I was like, what?
He sings well in general.
Can he do it? Is there anything that man cannot do? Damn it!
Honestly,
making me so jealous.
Like,
the rest of us over here working hard. These people with their natural talent.
Him with his dimps.
The dimple, Mr. Dimple. Mr. Dimples.
I would love you doing audiobook. Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Beetlejuice also said, I almost forgot my great uncle was named after James Connolly, who was the rebel leader during the Easter Rising and 1916 Rising, and James Connolly was executed by British Stute Squad in, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that name, jail, after the Easter Rising, and the name of my great-great-uncle, who is also Seamus Poole, who is actually named after James Connolly. So that's really cool, too. Cool.
Yes, you know a lot about your ancestry.
For sure. That's awesome. Awesome.
Hi, Lyric.
And I think you got most of the other chats as well. So, yeah, ancestry is cool stuff. Tell us about, okay, so when you're sitting down and you're like, teach me about food, our ancestral food, is there crossover with cultures? Because I love the concept of cultures. I studied cultures in school and how cultures relate. I'm under the understanding, and I could be wrong, that in South Korea there are multiple cultures, right?
There are more so nowadays, yes.
So how does that work with, learning food? Because food comes from lots of different places. Food's handed down and stuff like that. So when you're doing stuff that's like, I want to say heritagely, but that's not a word.
Heritageality.
Ancestral type foods that's like handed down and stuff like that. How do you talk about that? How do you, is it just like, hey, let's have food? Okay, what is the history of this? Do you go looking it up? Does your mom know the history of it?
My mom knows a lot of the history of it. Like one of the main dishes of Korea that people just generally know about is kimchi, which is a spiced pickled something. It doesn't always have to be cabbage, but cabbage is the most known thing to be kimchied.
Yeah.
And she would tell me that they'd have to make it in these big jars or pots, and then they'd have to bury them by water because they didn't have refrigerators. But my mom grew up poor in the countryside of South Korea.
Fermenting jar?
fermenting jar, and then they had I'm sorry, my lights are being weird now because now we have the sun setting.
Yep.
Um,
I told you that was going to happen.
yeah. And then they did a lot of drying of meats and things like that. And if you know the geography of South Korea, it's a peninsula, so it's surrounded by water, and there's lots of little islands around it as well. So she would tell me about how most of the people in the country were fisher people. I say fisher people because some of the most coveted divers that would go down and dive for abalone and mussels and things like that were actually women.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that either, but
Because women are better than men. Sorry.
well, they could hold their breath longer and they can dive deeper, and they're like, physically smaller in stature, so they could get into crevices and stuff like that. If you know about the mollusks that cling to rocks and things like that, you had to be a little bit more agile physically and things to reach where they were. So I know that about a lot of the food items. They didn't eat a lot of beef, no dairy products. So when my mom and grandma came to the US, they were really just like, interestingly enough, they said, well, that's why Americans are stinky sometimes because they eat so much beef and cheese. And I mean, they're not wrong. But Korea more so was like a pork and seafood.
Okay.
And maybe some chicken, but chicken's for the eggs, really. They didn't really eat a lot of chicken meat per se.
What's your favorite dish from that?
I think my favorite dish it's called bulgogi. Bulgogi is a beef or pork dish, but it is basically just stir fried, really savory / sweet because it's a soy sauce base.
Okay.
But with lots of onions and sesame seeds and things like that. Bulgogi is so good. Just on rice. It's come to the States and people have made bulgogi burritos. So they'll wrap it all in a tortilla and it's delicious that way too. Korean barbecue is really popular out here too. And that's basically just really good cuts of meat that you put on tabletop grills, and you eat it like that. But they're a culture that does like soup with their meals every meal. I think the Japanese are like that also. If you're gonna have a meal, you have to have soup along with it.
Okay.
So you have kimchi soup, we have tofu soup, we have like daikon radish soups. It's just it's also
It scared the crap out of me. I was looking up bulgogi so I could see what it is, and I was like, that looks good. I was like, that sounds good. I gotta look that up.
Yeah,
make sure I don't
bulgogi.
forget. I have a wok, so I do a lot of stir fry.
Yeah.
But I just make stuff up as I go usually, and it's usually delicious because it's
Yeah,
one of my
just
two
wing it.
favorite types of food is anything made in a wok. I guess isn't a type, but
Yeah. Woks are a great way.
we were given a wok for a Christmas present, and I was like, oh my gosh, because I worked in kitchens, I worked in restaurants, and I never really got to do a lot of work with woks. I make a lot of the same foods, but having a wok changes the game.
It definitely
for
does.
what you can and can't make, and it's like this is just great. So we actually bought a giant bag of frozen stir fried vegetables from Costco because I make so much different kinds of stir fry or food over rice or whatever.
Mhm.
So
It's quick and it's economic.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
yeah.
This should be you could say that my family does go back a long time in Mojo Jojo. When I was little, I loved watching your cousin with Robin Williams, and I think Dustin Hoffman, who played Hook, said he is a brilliant actor to work with. And rest in peace to Robin Williams and Dame Maggie Smith.
Yes, for real. I miss Robin Williams. He was just an amazing soul. And and he's a good example of how someone can be so outwardly funny and charismatic and things like that and still be suffering because he did have a really big mental health
He did.
battle and suffering.
And he was
from
fairly
that.
open about it too.
He was.
Yeah, Robin Williams, I was just talking about this not long ago. About me personally, me and my wife have been watching. Let's make sure I can say the title right. Only Murders in the Building, and it's got Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up. I'm from the Robin Williams stand up era. Like, so I watched Steve Martin do stand up. I watched Martin Short do stand up. I watched Gallagher. I watched Sam Kinison. I watched Dennis Leary. I watched all those guys doing stand up. And when I was a kid, when I was a young kid, there were certain comedians that I resonated with because I was a kid. Like, I didn't understand the adult. I didn't understand Sam Kinison other than he was funny because he was silly. You know, he was always screaming and whatever. I didn't understand the jokes as a kid. But as a kid, like, there was something about him that was like that just you drew to him. And the same with Steve Martin, the same with Robin Williams, the same with Martin Short. So I was sitting there watching Only Murders in the Building, and I'm sitting here watching Steve Martin, Martin Short, who I've watched since I was a little kid, and I've been big fans of everything they've ever touched or done, and realizing one of the reasons, because they tackle like getting older and the generational thing, and I'm sitting here going, you know, this show is something extra special to me. And then it hit me, like, I grew up on stand-up comedy. That was one of my escapes, you know, looking back, talking about mental health and stuff. That was a way to get away from the trauma I was experiencing and the problems I was having, was to watch these stand-up comedians. And looking back and going, these are the only two from that generation left, other than Eddie Murphy, who was a lot more adult.
Yeah.
So as a kid, like, these are the last two. Everyone else is gone. That show really hit me in the heart when I came to that realization that, like, what we're seeing in this show is actually something very special to a certain generation of people that watch stand-up comedy and watched, you know, comics like that. So and Robin Williams was definitely on that list of one of the best who ever did it. So
I agree.
So shout out to Robin Williams, and I'm going to try not to cry.
Aw,
Like I did when I found
know.
out 3 years later that Sean Connery had passed away, and I didn't realize it.
Oh gosh, that was
I had been
devastating.
drinking a little bit on stream that night, so I was extra affected. And yeah, I
no.
had to go on a break afterwards when I still to this day, I don't remember that happening. I just don't remember ever being in the news or nothing. And everyone's like, how did you
It
not
really
know? And I was
wasn't.
like, what? How did
I don't feel like it was in the news.
What season of Only Murders on the Murders are you on? I'm on we're on season 2 right now. We're about halfway through season 2, Beetle. We're getting there. Loving it. Love
Only
the show.
Murders.
Love the show. If anybody hasn't seen it, Only Murders in the Building. It's on Hulu. It's a Hulu specific. So yeah, definitely check it out. It is and it's not as over the top as you'd think it is in any way, shape, or form. It has its moments. It has its moments. All right, we're gonna let's. So I mean, I might as well start the timer. We're on Potluck, and Potluck is about whatever. But we said we were going to talk about music. We were going to talk about voices a little bit. And you do karaoke, right, on your stream?
We do. We have karaoke therapy once a month. We actually, for my 3-year anniversary stream, we did that for 5 hours at the end of this 13-hour stream, and it was crazy. But we usually, I don't know. So we've had some amazing people just drop in and sing that probably are singing professionally, and I've just felt so fortunate to have such talent come on. But I really have that built into my content because it's something that my family and I do whenever we're together. And it's one of the main ways that we bond, you know, just by singing songs to each other or with each other. But I call it karaoke therapy because there's therapy in singing or even just listening to people sing. And amazingly, we've had a really diverse pool of like song genre. As we were saying, Redneck Jedi, he's our country guy, and he sings the heck out of these country songs.
He does.
He's got that twang, he's got that rasp, he's just got everything. And then when my family comes in, I've got Casadilla, who just can sing anything. She's got a beautiful voice, as well as Dr. Perry Falls, who is also a part of the Black Collar Collective and has been a part of the charity raid trains as well. She's now engaged to him. I introduced them to each other a couple years ago, and he's an amazing vocalist as well. Gabriel Bosco is a audio engineer, producer, and a vocalist himself. Um, he has produced some songs for his sister Linnea, who obviously also is my cousin.
Yeah.
And so she's a vocalist and hasn't been on our karaoke streams yet, but I've had Drogo on, who he loves to sing love songs. So he's Gabriel's cousin. So, or Gabriel's brother, my cousin.
Okay.
So I've got, and all of them are also streamers. So my family has really been a huge inspiration in that karaoke therapy piece in general, but also for me to start streaming at all. My sister is also a streamer, Angeliciousness, and she sings beautifully also. So I just come from a mega talented family.
It sounds like it. Jesus Christ.
yeah.
You got people in Hollywood, people singing, and people streaming, and you being the best one of them all.
Oh no, not the best one. No. I'm just the most consistent, and I guess what my family would call me is sort of the glue. You know, you always have a person in your network or in your family that kind of brings people together.
Yeah.
And so that's another reason why I wanted to have that one thing once a month that if family could come join us for could be our bonding together, you know, from afar, because they're states away. I'm in Colorado, they're in California. And we could still come together while I'm streaming. So it's been a beautiful streaming journey. The vision and mission has always been to normalize the mental health conversation. So when you invited me on to do this off the pod with you, I was like, this is really cool that you're wanting to, or that you're willing to even talk about mental health on this to talk about this kind of stuff.
Or it's not comfortable for people to listen to. So all of you who have hung around and listened to it, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. It still is, mental health in general is still a topic that some might say we shouldn't talk about on stream, but it's something that's, I don't know, it's something that I'm passionate about, and that I want to create a safe space for people to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
So my channel and yours and Octavius, yes, and Bentley's, you know, we may not always be talking about mental health while we're streaming. You know, I play games and we,
right,
you know, I have a spank command. I have a spank redemption. People can get spanked, you know, we get silly. It's an adult channel. We might have a drink on stream together and game together, but it's still a safe space where anyone can come into my chat and say, I'm not having the best day.
Yeah.
And we're not going to tell them to get out of here, you know, because some streamers have different rules. That's the other thing that I wanted to say to people that have come to Twitch and maybe been told they're not allowed to say their feelings on stream. Each streamer is going to have their own set of rules for what they're trying to achieve.
Right.
And sometimes that is that they don't really allow for people to come in and dampen their mood. Is some, you know, like
stream down or whatever.
Yeah, don't bring us down or whatever. And you know, I don't have any type of shade or salt to those kind of content creators, because that's just their rules. And each streamer is going to have their own set of rules, and you know, in line of what they're trying to achieve. And you know, maybe it's that they also just don't have the training or wherewithal or openness to be able to help you in that moment.
Yeah.
If they're trying to stream and someone comes in and says that and they don't really know how to react, then that sort of puts them in a, you know,
and I've had people come in, they're like, yeah, I just, you know, they say stuff that they've just experienced. It's like a person that I don't even know randomly comes in, I ask them how they're doing, and they're like, well, I just got out of the hospital for, you know, attempted suicide or something like that. And it's like
some heavy stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, let's stop what we're doing and let's address this. Let's talk about it. Let's see if what can I do to help? You know, I'm just a guy. Like I can't be sending money to people or anything. But let's talk about it.
what resources do I have? What do I know that I can help with? How can I relate? And so I've done that in here. And yeah, has it drug the stream down sometimes? Yes. But here's the thing. If I helped that one person and saved their life because I stopped and talked about it, I will sacrifice watching my views drop in half to save somebody's life.
Yeah. And you know what? I commend you for that.
Yeah.
I always people come in and they say stuff like that. Well, they haven't said anything like that, but
that's an extreme one. That only happened once, but yeah, it's an example I have.
But they felt safe enough to come say that in your chat, and you didn't tell them to go away, even though it was somebody that you didn't know, and that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
People come in and they tell me that they're having a hard day, and then they apologize. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. And I'm like, don't apologize. The fact that you came here, or it was one of your first thoughts to come here and tell us you're not having a good day, makes me feel like you feel safe here. Yeah. And so I want you to continue to feel safe here. I'm sorry you're not having a good day. Like, just hang out with us. You want to come play games with us? You know what I mean? You can hang out in the Discord if you want.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. It's wonderful. Again, anyone else who's a streamer who doesn't want that vibe for your channel, I get that too.
Right.
I understand.
Some people might not even know they might not know how to handle it, or maybe they have experiences and it's hard for them. Like they can't deal with it. You know?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Nick, because I think that there's more of us than people think, like mental health advocate streamers, but there's also, compared to like the thousands of content creators on this platform, still aren't enough, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
There can always be more people that are more accepting of people as they are, because that's a thing. If I go into someone's stream and they're like, oh, if you're having a shitty day, don't come bring that here.
Right.
I'm just sort of like, okay, maybe this isn't for me, because dang, we're all human.
Yeah.
But you know what Octavius does, which I really admire too, is he always offers to take it off stream,
Yeah,
like,
he does.
Hey, I'll make time for you after stream. But I'm in the middle of this game right now, so let's definitely talk off stream about it.
Yeah.
That to me is commendable. I like that too, because
message him on Discord, message me on Discord, and I told him, I was like, if I'm in chat and somebody's having an issue and whatnot and they need help, if I'm in chat, you feel free to mention and he does it for Bentley too. Like, if you need someone to talk to, he's like, I know Bentley's there. I'm here. He'll list off the names of people. He's like, feel free to message any of them. They can definitely help talk to you. They're always open, and it's true. Always open to help people out with stuff. So it's definitely important. Red says the singing is definitely therapy. Sometimes I just love spending all day singing. I used to be real shy when I started doing karaoke. I became a lot more confident. So
that's one of the things that a lot of the folks that come sing regularly with us have said, is that I don't have any requirements that you have to have your face cam on and you have to have certain equipment to sing. Redneck shares his screen with us from his phone,
right?
And then he sings with it, and it's fine that he doesn't want to show his face. In fact, some of us probably sing better without having to show our face. And so having the courage to sing with people or in front of people or for people definitely is a confidence booster. And like, we also don't have a requirement of like, you have to be a good singer.
Right.
Just come and sing with us for the therapeutic value of just letting it out. Like, if you're terrible, I don't care. You have the courage to sing with us, to us, for us. And that's really what we like to encourage, is like, hey, don't let that stop you. And we have the majority of the people that actually came and sang with us on Saturday didn't have their face cams on.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
Yeah.
Some people do have that requirement, like, you have to turn your face cam on, and I'm like, oh, I don't want anyone to be scared like that. It's already nerve-wracking,
Yeah. And I understand that, like, for this and the podcast, like, I prefer to be able to see who I'm talking to, but I understand. Totally.
Yeah,
especially
this is great.
for that,
like, you definitely should have your camera on for this, but if like for example, if you were gonna have a karaoke stream, that would be
I
my
would not have a
recommendation.
I cannot stand the thought of me singing. And I've gone to karaoke events on other people for other people's events. I've gone to their Discord events. I've sang, obviously I sing on stream, but I can't stand me singing. I can't stand the sound of me singing. I am super self-conscious about me singing. So like everything is just like, I'm kind of a self-hate on my singing capabilities, but I do it to support the people and to go in and just try and have fun. Like I've gone to karaoke and hung out and doing it and had fun, but it really like there's a reason that it's a joke of clipping me singing is because I genuinely get embarrassed by it, and other people are like, "Oh, you're fine." I'm like, everyone else says I'm fine.
I
I'm
am not.
fine.
Yeah.
but I'm aware that it's funny and that it's it's a thing, and it doesn't bother me enough to not put them in clips for people to trigger as alerts. So
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. I love having a PNG avatar. I mean, that does help too, Sassy.
yeah,
But I think if it's not your cup of tea, it's not. But there's also a therapeutic value in watching others sing.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, I love music and I love singing when nobody's around. I love singing along with the song. Like music is in my blood. I grew up with music. Like I like all kinds of music, but just me singing. Maybe that's something I should look into. Maybe that's something I should look at therapeutically with therapy and be like, why do I have this issue? Where does this issue stem from?
Maybe. Or maybe that's one of the things that is just what it is. Because as I don't know if you guys knew this, but for a long time, the number one fear in the United States, what did you think it was?
Oh, probably something like spiders or snakes, or that's what I probably thought it was. I know it's not. I think death is definitely on the list.
Well, so above death, it was actually
Public speaking. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm that weirdo that just loves I love the nerves. Like when I did the TED Talk and everything, I was so nervous and anxious to the point to where like I was almost shaking. But I love that feeling. So becoming a streamer, singing karaoke, Lyric says she would never do karaoke live, like an actual karaoke place. And I love that. I love being able to stand up with a microphone and wave my hands around and like get down on one knee or something.
I love public speaking. And it's nothing about the nerves. Like I went to college for that, and like I was the only one that got an A. Like it was an easy A for me.
Good at it.
It was an easy A for me to write up a speech and to build a speech or whatever. And I hate to say it, but my wife and I, when we go to weddings, one of the things we sit there and we analyze people's speeches. I do.
Oh.
I'm not going to say we judge, but we might people's wedding speeches. And it's like, oh, that was really good, or that was, oh, why did they do this, or whatever it was. Because I just love public speaking. I love speeches. I love, there's just something about it that I enjoy doing. So
yeah, I love public speaking. I love singing for people. I'm not the best at it either. I don't know how to read music or anything like that. I just sing by ear.
Oh, you're good at it.
Well, thank you. But a lot of my family they actually play an instrument or have been a part of a choir, and so they know how to read music and stuff like. I always wished I knew how, and maybe I'll learn someday. It's never too late,
It isn't.
You have a lot of people who are very successful later in life. Actually, Maggie Smith, I think we were talking about earlier. I think you were talking about that, Mr. Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
A moment of silence for those that we have lost, but do you ever remember her doing anything in her younger years? There's so many people out here that are authors, that are entrepreneurs late in life. It's just never too late.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't remember anything from when she was younger, but I only knew her from the Harry Potter stuff she did. My wife watches Downton Abbey, so knows her from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, girl. How about the speech that was so cringe we wanted to leave until it was over? Yes. Yeah, they're like I was embarrassed for the people, the person giving the speech.
Especially at weddings.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can
And there's a difference between it just being really cringe and somebody just being so nervous and being afraid, and you can tell that they're out of their shell. Like I admire the people that are like bucking their inner thing to like run and hide and trying to get through. Like I commend the people. I can tell when somebody's doing a speech and like it's bad because of their nerves, but I also know people that are like it's bad because it's just bad.
Okay, so that's interesting, Lyric, because you say I can do public speaking fine, but music is different. Songs are written for the singers, and they may not have the same preferred range as I do. I know where my voice sounds best, and sometimes, even if I love a song, I need to change the key to be able to do it justice.
Yeah,
which is fair, and like definitely that is a thing, changing the key. But I have a question for Jedi. Jedi, do you have any reservations of public speaking? Because you're an amazing singer and you say you love to be on stage, but what do you think about public speaking? What if you had to get up in front of a crowd of people and actually say a speech?
And if he did, what would the topic be?
That's a good piggyback onto that. I'm just curious because I have a theory, and it's not me because again, I'm just weird. I love public speaking and singing it to a group of people or to the public. But a lot of my family, if they had to speak in front of people, they don't. They would not. They would sing in front of people before they would speak.
Yeah.
So
I'm the opposite.
I have a theory that there's two different kinds of people, two different kinds of brains, two different kinds of fears that happen there.
That's very interesting. People can sing in front but can't speak, or people can speak in front but don't want to sing.
Yeah.
Except for you. Except
I'm weird.
Yeah.
I'm weird. I did pretty good when I was in college. I did public speaking. One speech I did was on Asperger's, which then wasn't so well known. And I liked, okay, so you were able to speak on something you're passionate about. That's great.
That is cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, because you definitely teach people a lot about Asperger's.
We may or may not
and
have
spectrum.
been talking about how awesome Red is behind the scenes in his advocacy as well. So, Red, we commend you on all of the things you do. And Red, I love the post. I told Mojo that I love the post you did in a couple of Discords, but including Penny Potatoes Discord during the I forget which month it was, but every month you were posting a celebrity that was on the spectrum, and I thought that was super cool. And like the research you did and the post you did and everything was super awesome. So yeah, thank you for that. Mojo, you are like me, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I need to ask you this. When you're doing your streams, you'll be sitting there and you'll just randomly start singing a song. And I'm like, man, that's really good singing. Do you realize when you're doing it?
Sometimes no.
Sometimes no. Well, on a Halo, I had a speech class where we had to pug items out of a bag and then come up with 5-minute speech on them. I got to rock. Oh man. I could do that. I don't like the whole, like, get an item and sell it. Here's a broom. Sell me this broom. I think that's dumb.
That's marketing. I hated marketing.
But giving a speech about, whatever an item is, like, that's not that bad of a problem.
My favorite.
Like I said, I was shy, but if I plan what I'm going to say, then I'm fine. Okay. Cool. Is that another Coca-Cola Oreo? With a Coca-Cola... With an Oreo Coca-Cola. Does the Oreo Coca-Cola taste like Oreos?
It does.
Does it only taste like Oreos because you're eating a Coca-Cola Oreo?
No. No, it tastes like it without it. But it's like the aftertaste that tastes like it. I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does.
It's also my dinner, so
No.
No, I ate a bunch earlier, so
you need to go have some bulgogi after this.
Yep, like I said, I was shy of it. Okay, trying to think of what to say on the spot tends to mess me up. When I know what I'm gonna say, I'm fine. Yeah,
that's a lot of people have an issue with the spontaneity of just making shit up on the fly. And there are some people that are there are some people that are very skilled at it, and then there are people that have a hard time with it. I used to be really good at it. I used to be very good at it until COVID. till I got COVID, and now I am. It is way harder. I can't even think of words. There have been a few times tonight where I'm like, "What's that word?" I'll use a different word instead.
I do that too.
And beforehand, I worked at Renaissance festivals and stuff, and it was really easy. We mentioned Octavius today. He's one of those guys that like you can just sit him down and just have him talk for an hour about nothing, and he could do it, no problem, no problem.
I did a little debate lyric. It's great practice on thinking on your feet for sure.
For sure.
Indeed, I tend to ramble. Sassy, I ramble too, especially if I'm nervous.
Well, you haven't been rambling today, so I'm glad you don't seem to feel nervous today.
No, I think that this is probably my wheelhouse. I love things like this because it's a good back and forth conversation, and we're talking about different topics, and we're helping, hopefully whoever's here, we're helping them feel a little bit more comfortable too about the topics we're talking about, so
yeah, for sure. Well, that's all our topics. We've gone through them all. We did them all. Hey, it's Penny Potato. We were just talking about you, Penny.
Hi, Penny.
We just mentioned you.
I've ever told you I love your name? I think so, Penny. Penny Potato. I think so because we've seen each other in other streams, and I think you were like Mojo Jojo.
Mojo Jojo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Penny is also awesome. Also a very big advocate for mental health as well. So we love the Penny Potato.
Yes.
As well. Penny Potato was on one of the very early episodes of Off the Pod. She was like the 3rd episode or 4th episode of Off the Pod was Penny.
Oh my goodness.
So an iconic member of the Off the Pod alumni.
Yeah, let's go. You need a merch line.
Me?
Yes.
I have
You should have like
I have a merch store.
Pod. You should add an Off the Pod alumni thing, and then
you
can wear it.
I could do that like a university type logo, but it's like Off the Pod alumni.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I do that, I should have a podcast alumni shirt as well.
Heck yes, I would buy it. How many people have you had on your shows, sir?
I just counted. We just did episode 86.
Okay, so that's 86 shirts, sweatshirts, beanies sold.
We have a few people. Justin Leslie has 3 shirts, and Hunter Blaine has some shirts, and I think Ed Greenwood got a shirt. We've got a couple alumni people who have gotten shirts because I put all the guests every year. I come out with a new shirt that has all the guests for that year on the shirt. And then I always
kind of like concert shirts.
Yeah, it's exactly. They were styled after concert shirts, and so we get then they go out of style. So like right now, you can't get the very first year shirt of guests because it's we're not doing it anymore.
It's already gone. Yeah.
Right now, you can get the 2023, 2022, 2023 shirts, and then when the year is over, the 2022 shirts will go away, and you'll only be able to get the 23 and 2024 shirts.
Well, there you go.
So yeah, that is a thing. There's a link to all of our
that's cool
merchandise items, Epic Realms merchandise right here on Epic Realms. Speaking of
go to your Epic Realms merch shop to get yours. Yeah. Very cool. I like that.
Awesome. So tell us what you got going on. What you got? Some special streams coming up, special events going on. Tell us about yourself. Tell us what's going on in the world of Mojo Jojo, where people can find you. We're going to give you another shout out. We're going to give a classic one here while you tell all this.
Sure. So I am exclusively on Twitch now. I do have a Kick account, and I was streaming on there for a little bit. But I decided to just focus on Twitch because a lot of my following from Twitch was going over to Kick, and ultimately I didn't want to put the stress on my community to support me on 2 different platforms. And also Kick was a different feel, it just has a different pool of content creators.
It does.
That I didn't really feel like there was a niche for mental health there per se. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I just wanted to put my focus on one platform. And now I do a lot of Twitter things as well, but those are really just like motivational or inspirational posts. My schedule for over here and events. But what I have coming up is in November. Well, so October, we've got the Raid Train. with the Black Collar Collective. I will be a part of that. I believe that's the second week in October, if I'm not mistaken. But that is going to be our Keep Abreast, right? So Keep Abreast is a charity we've been doing every October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Who one of my aunts was a survivor for 15 years, and so I do it to kind of commemorate her and her memory. And it's a wonderful event. So we'll be having that with the Black Collar Collective in October. In November, I am hosting a veterans and active military panel where it's going to be, the objective is going to be for people to relate to veterans on a different level. I have a number of fellow content creators that I'm connected to. Mango Fandango is one of the active duty still serving in the Air Force who's going to participate in that panel. And I'm really going to have questions and conversation points that are geared towards letting them tell their experiences in the service, in the different branches that they were serving in. So Veterans Day, I believe, is either the first or second week of November every year. But I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it's just now coming to fruition. But I think that's a really important topic because for any community that has different things in common, there's different mental health challenges within each. So the veterans population, I think, doesn't necessarily get a whole lot of opportunity to speak on their experience and mental health thereof because it's still taboo there as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Taboo. It still very much has a stigma.
Right.
And
I knew what
that's
you meant. I knew what you meant.
unfortunate. Yeah. So I wanted to give them the opportunity to speak on their experience and things there. And their PTSD is very unique in what they have to experience when they're in active duty. So that's coming up in November. Every year I host a mental health roundtable, is what I call it, during Mental Health Month, which is May. So once we turn the year over to 2025, I'll be looking at what that looks like for 2025's roundtable. The last couple of years have been amazing. We've had fellow content creators come and collab with us. And this last year, we spun a wheel of topics and we kind of spoke to the topics as we landed on them. I had 6 total fellow content creators this year. The inaugural year that I was just getting it to take off, we had 12.
Wow.
And so
that's a great start.
Yeah, but we unintentionally went for 7 hours, and I think that was a bit much for our mental health stream. So we cut it in half with 6, and it was perfect this year.
Okay.
So those are some of my babies, and of course we have karaoke therapy every month. Usually it's like the second to last or the last Saturday of the month we do karaoke therapy. I do kind words once a month when I'm able to, which is it's a game that you can find on the Steam platform, but you can either submit categories or things that you want some advice on or that you're struggling on, or you can answer those things and it's all anonymous.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that.
Yes. So we go on there and we pick requests to answer, and I have the chat answer those requests with me.
I remember you talking about that. And I was like, man, I really want to get in and I want to check this stream out. And I must have missed it because I'm like, I don't remember being there for that. And I remember you talking about it.
Yeah, we didn't have one this past month because I was dealing with a whole lot of personal medical things with me and my mom. But this coming month in October, I'm wanting to bring it back. We usually do a giveaway too during that stream where if you win, you can either gift a care package to someone in the community or I will send you a care package. And usually it has like a sheet mask or something that's calming that you can do for yourself. So I've also sent like the eye mask, that you can either freeze or heat up.
Yeah.
to kind of calm your eyes. You know, treats.
They look like the coolest glasses in
candies.
the world.
Yeah, they do. They got the little like squishy beads in them.
Yeah.
I've
Or the
given
gel
away.
ones that's got gel.
Yeah, the gel ones are cool. I've given away Spa Finder gift cards for that as well, which you can use towards like a massage or a spa service, things of that nature. But yeah, maybe if you and I game together a lot, maybe I'm sending you a Fortnite blanket and something else that that's fun, little figurines or
Or
something.
some Freddy Krueger chopsticks.
Some Freddy Krueger chopsticks. You got that from the last raid train though. So Namvin won the grab bag, and the grab bag had a bunch of like gaming and movie merch in it. And I was like, is there any part of the bag that you want to give out to the community? So he gave out like 5 things because there was like 12 things or something in there.
Yeah.
And you did get the Freddy Krueger
I
chopsticks.
do. They're actually
Which
behind
are-
me, behind my green screen. They're sitting right there on a display that you can't see on stream because I now have a green screen, but they're on my little shelf display with my other things. Because the best part is I love Freddy Krueger. Like I love the character. I love everything about the story. I grew up with that, and that was like that was my go-to horror character. And so there's just something about the character.
really
So I play Dead by Daylight, and he's who I play on Dead by Daylight. It's Freddy
Is
Krueger.
it?
That's my killer. So
That's cool. I like that.
so you had no idea. They had a box set, like a limited edition box set of the DVDs
Mhm.
before Blu-ray came out. So I have this limited edition Nightmare on Elm Street's collection sitting there. And then of course, right after that got released and I got that, they announced the Jason versus Freddy. And I was like, it's not part of my collection. So I had to get it. And it's like sitting next to it, and it totally doesn't match, but it's there. Totally.
Yeah, I did that with the Harry Potter series. Like I have the box set for the first 5 years or something, and then the other ones are just off to the side. But yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, I didn't know somebody recommended we send those chopsticks to you, and I can't remember who.
Oh, really?
It might have been Octavius, actually.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, amongst the community, the regular community, they know that I'm a big Freddy Krueger fan. So I like the fact that it looks like they're his claws.
Yes.
So that's what makes it kind of neat and fun. So
Freddy Krueger chopsticks, guys.
that's right.
They're all the rage.
They're all the rage. All right. Well, with that, I think I mentioned Epic loved Freddy. Okay, so Red says
Maybe it was you, Jedi. Yeah.
Awesome. You guys go and check out Mojo Jojo. Go ahead and give her a follow on all of the things. And make sure to go and hang out and check out some of these streams. And even if she's just playing a game, just sit back and close your eyes and listen to the angelic voice of Mojo Jojo singing right before she gets killed in Fortnite, and then she swears a lot. So there you go.
Sometimes I lean into the microphone,
Right there.
But it's a great time. And also I yell and scream during Dead by Daylight. So watch your eardrums for sure. But also come hang out with us, like come sing with us or listen to us sing, whatever. Our community is definitely open to newcomers. And if you're seeking resources, we have a resources channel in the Discord. No pressure to join the Discord because I know sometimes that can be overwhelming. But if you're ever looking for resources, you can also reach out to me. I leave all of my DMs open for people that are looking for help. I'm in that career field now, so I'm sort of a whiz at looking up resources in your area, whether it's economic resources, mental health resources, or anything else. And I think that's my main focus, is to make sure people feel like they're supported some way or another. And yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you, Mojo. We'll definitely
No
have to do some
problem.
other stuff later down the road as well.
Yes, it's my pleasure.
Do all kinds of stuffs. Guys, we're gonna
Do all
raid on
kinds of
out.
stuff.
We're gonna raid on out. We were talking about the Black Collar Collective, and a member of the Black Collar Collective, who we had on the last Off the Pod, is streaming retro games right now. So we're gonna raid on over to the one, the only, the incomparable Mr. Wino. with 2 U's now instead of the W because
we know.
It's yeah,
we know.
we know. We're going to raid on over to Wino. So thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you. If you want to know what's going on here, go ahead and give a follow, and we will see you down the road. Tomorrow, we're going to be playing a brand new game. We're actually going to log on 10 minutes before we're going to log on an hour before the game is even released, and we're just going to kind of chat about it and just wait for the servers to open. It's a great game called Throne and Liberty. It's a new MMORPG. So I always talk about got to get in on the ground floor of the next EverQuest, the next World of Warcraft. I don't know if this is going to be it or not, but we're going to play it on the ground floor and just see what we think of it. So that's going to be tomorrow. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Hopefully we see you tomorrow. That's going to be at about 11 o'clock a.m. Central. We've got tabletop role playing. The Stolen Souls campaign is on Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to try to do more of that Throne and Liberty. And Friday is going to be Fright Fridays, Friday Frights, where we're going to be playing spooky games all month of October. Every Friday for the month of October, we're going to be playing some sort of scary game. It's going to be I think it's called the Evil Within video game. So we're going to be doing that on Friday. So come and join us for all of that. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to raid on out to Wino if the raid command wants me to do it, because sometimes I put an @ in front of there and it doesn't like that. And
you have a raid message.
Oh my gosh, stop doing this. It keeps putting user in parentheses.
Oh,
we're crying out loud. Guys, when we raid on out, you can use anybody's raid emotes, your raid emotes, my raid emotes, Mojo's raid emotes. I don't care. Use anybody's raid emotes. Just make sure to say hello, make your voices known, and tell Wino what we were doing. Thank you guys so much for being here. Take care, guys. Good night. And if you really need to copy and paste something, you can go ahead and just copy and paste that. Have a good night, everyone. Take care, and we will see you down the road. Bye.